Call the meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Public Safety Committee for the City of San Clemente. Tuesday, July 26th, 2022, and we're at City Hall. Let's see. Rick, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Be my pleasure.
Please stand.
Hand over heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Taney, will you do the roll call for us, please?
Yes, sir. Captain Malat.
Here.
Chief Capo Bianco.
Here.
Captain Benfield.
Here.
Committee Member Hanrahan.
Here.
Committee Member Leffler.
Aye.
Vice Chair Hightower.
Present.
And Chair Bakuda.
We're all here. Thank you. Full house. Boy, this is good.
Very impressive. Well, not for the most part.
All right. For special orders of business and presentations, I would like to introduce Eddie Morales and his buddy.
Chad Cossey.
They're from the Orange County Health Department Emergency Medical Services team, and we'd like to ask them. They're prepared for a presentation on what they do for a living in the disaster preparedness world.
Does it count that I don't know what I want to do when I grow up?
Join the club.
Right. Hi guys. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for having us. I truly appreciate it. I know Eddie appreciates it. It's exciting when we get a chance to come out and shake hands and find out, who's who in the sandbox. I don't want to take too much of your guys' time, and I try to make this pretty straightforward for you to give you a good operational picture, if you will, of what it is we do. Our division currently is called Health Emergency Management. We are with the Emergency Medical Services, and then under that whole umbrella of public health. So that's the way it goes. I'm not going to have you guys go through the Orange County. This is just some of the general demographic of the county that we put in. But a couple things about our department. We have 3 funding streams. First funding stream, as you see there, is the Hospital Preparedness Program. So that's part of ASPR, the Assistant Secretary of Preparedness and Response. That funding stream comes from the feds, goes to the state, and then comes down to the local, down to the county. The same process of feds to state to county is the FEP grant, which some people call PEPR, for Public Health Emergency and Preparedness and Response. And each one of these have a little bit different kind of mantra, if you will. So for the hospital part of this, we'll get into some of the activities, but pretty much that's a lot of hospital preparedness, a hospital planning, coalition, and I'll define the activities here in a sec. Public health takes a little bit more of approach of it. I probably preach into the crier, and I say that because we're still in a public health emergency, right? You guys have seen how some of this pandemic goes, and so we'll discuss some of those activities. And then a third funding stream, like most of us, we have a general funding stream. So some activities that go with the HPP. Overall goals to pull every healthcare provider that we can find, from dialysis centers, surgical centers, long-term care, subacute nursing facilities, hospital, anything that is a healthcare provider. Our whole goal is to try to get them involved. Sometimes it ebbs and flows, and since it's an ecumenical crowd, and I can say that freely. But overall, with the hospitals, they have to participate. It comes down through them from CMS and Joint Commission, or 2 of the accreditation bodies. So we do have a little bit better attendance from the hospitals than we do some of the other areas. As an action item, if you guys run into someone and they're with a healthcare provider, hey, let's point you in this direction. We'll get them linked up. We'll get them hooked in. Another is the SISTI Coalition. So we do have regular coalition meetings where we'll have advisory councils from each one of those groups, surgical center, long-term care, subacute. They will come together and discuss a little bit of the direction of the coalition, and then we'll have a coalition meeting that is the overall piece of that. Some of the things that happen at coalition meetings, we discuss plans, We talk about burn surge plans. We talk about if there's a pediatric surge plan, we'll go through some of those items and we work out those planning efforts. We'll facilitate overall preparedness with both us and the county. Some of what we focus on for the year is dictated by the coalition. We go off of an HVA, a hazard vulnerability analysis, and what some of the hospitals report. Because we want to align our efforts, we make sure to kind of follow that piece. And then, as you guys saw with the pandemic, the conduit for supplies and resources. And this actually is overlap with the FEP, or Public Health Emergency Preparedness Program. So with FEP, there's overall community preparedness, right? Get out there, talk about health, talk about disaster response, talk about personal preparedness. I know with fire season on the corner, I'm sure you guys are all aware, hey, do you have a go bag? Do you have this? Get out there and do some of those things. With the public health side of it, we're more focused on medications. If you're diabetic, do you have an ice chest that you can put your insulin in? And what do those pieces look like? If you have to leave the house early and you forgot your walker, how can we connect that citizen with someone to get a walker? Those are some of the things that we take a look at. We, as the county, we have authority over the MOHOC. That stands for Medical Health Operational Area Coordination. So Tammy McConnell, our big boss up here, is the MOHOC, or the point of contact. With the way the state, with SEMS, the State Emergency Medical or Emergency Management System, operates, is there's actually our contact is in Los Angeles. So the state will call LA, LA will call us. And that's how the resource request process works. If we need something, we go through Los Angeles goes to the state, and if the state needs it, as you guys are all aware, they go up to the feds. So we take part in that. We do cash supplies, as some of you guys may have been involved in. We have PPE that can be requested, so that was one of the most straightforward ones. And then communications. So, we work with ARES, RACES. I just actually had a phone call with a gentleman, they called it OC Heartbeat, which is a division of ham radio that deals with healthcare. And so we're looking at how we can plug them in more and get them showing up to hospitals, get them practicing and exercising with the hospitals. Information sharing, doing these things, getting out there, talking to people, getting them excited about preparedness, getting them excited about response. And again, the reason why I have the / there is because this is an overlap with the HPP efforts. And then if you look at us from a federal standpoint, some of you guys, if not all, have heard of emergency support functions, ESFs. We're ESF number 6 and number 8, which is mass care and sheltering and then medical surge. So some of the planning efforts that come out of the office is just that, surge planning with the hospitals. We have facilitated conversations with the state about a patient movement plan and what we'll do with how patients will move throughout the county. Those are just some of the efforts that we take. So having said that, we want to make sure that when we did this, we gave you guys an abundance of information. So if you look at it local, these are our links here, and we can make this available to any one of you guys. These links here will take you to our website, and I'll take you to some of the plans that we have. If you want to know more about what we have to follow for both state and fed, those are resources there, and they're all open source, available to you. More about the MOHOC program, more about the SEMS, and the state resource of the RDMH. I wanted to kind of take a little bit of a pivot and try to highlight some things. I wanted to try to create some positives in some of this. So the other day I was working with one of our interns that's down there, and overall, up until this point, we've had 6,600 requests for resources that came through what we call the AOC, or Agency Operations Center. It's the same thing as an EOC, they just want to call it a different name. We've had 6,200 filled. I did ask why there were 400 not filled, and some of them were canceled, some of them are in the process of being filled. It was kind of the gamut as to why. Some of it, to be honest with you guys, some of the PPE that we got from the state, the people who received it didn't like it. And again, I know this is recorded, but unfortunately there were some issues. You have what they call a standard of care in a hospital. They get used to a particular piece of equipment and they want to keep that. So we made every effort that we could to make sure we can get that for them. a breakdown of the PPE. And I know for some of you guys it might not be a big deal, but I do want to take time to commend healthcare and those who requested the PPE, because you have the majority of it is gloves, right? We try to do sparingly, reuse the mask, reuse gowns, and do what you can to conserve. And this graph actually shows that. So they used twice as many gloves as they did masks or gowns. So the efforts were there and people complied, and I want to give them the credit for that.
Do you know the cost for all
Sure.
that equipment, that PPE?
I don't have
That was
the
a lot of
cost.
stuff, from the 6 million things there, yeah.
I know that the majority of our supplies either came through the federal state channel or it was stuff that we had cached in the warehouse. But I don't have the
So
cost.
your organization didn't have to pay for it? It was done by the other?
The initial response, what we did have in the warehouse, came out of our funding. And these are just a few pictures of this. You know, we have the warehouse here. We did contract for some warehouse employees, so that was an outside contractor. And then this is just them putting some kits together. This is paperwork for one of the super pods. This is one of the warehouses that we have cached, and all of that is PPE and medical supply. This is the AOC, pretty standard EOC for most of you guys. And I think you were there helping us for a while, weren't you?
Yep.
So you're probably very familiar. This is the general contact to get a hold of us if you guys would like. We do have a route through Control 1, or pretty much the primary service access point as well. But if you want general hotline number here for this. And at the end, any questions that we can try to fill for you guys?
Would you, if there was an emergency of some kind that would precipitate the need of a lot of medical referrals, would you respond to the EOC? Or would you have to be requested or contacted?
Describe what you mean by medical referral. I want to make sure to get you the best answer.
Well, I saw an EOC up there.
Yeah.
So you were part of that.
So when we started getting inundated with the resource requests and needed to ramp up and have more than a couple people, because typically on a regular day, take COVID and put it over here, right? On a regular day, a resource request can come through, and it only really takes one person to facilitate that. But when you're handling hundreds of orders on a day, you have to bring in multiple people, and so the EOC was created to help facilitate that.
So our AOC was just stood up to provide logistical support for the main emergency operations center that Chief
Right.
Capobianco was assigned to. So we were just doing logistics, and
Okay.
that's how many people and resource requests we were receiving, hundreds a day. And yes.
Maybe I missed this. How often do the stakeholders meet to discuss these preparedness issues? Like the hospital's meeting with medical
So the
first
advisory councils,
responders.
the advisory councils meet once a month.
Okay. And is there any, they have any idea of what the inventory is, for example, at the Mission ED? Inventory of materials that you would need in case of an emergency?
We don't have
Is there a set aside, as I'm asking?
We don't have the inventory for Mission Hospital, but Mission Hospital does actually have access to an inventory sheet of what we have. So they can go through, we're trying to almost make it like Amazon. We want to mirror the experience that people are used to when they're shopping.
If there's a disaster of some sort, how long does it take to get it to the people that need it?
So can I answer this? So to answer your question is there are 28 disaster caches that are mainly embedded on the hospital properties, in addition to what they have for their own emergency department, that is provided by the county, managed by the county, but it's kind of a joint partnership with hospital management, where we say, okay, look, we're going to put these, most of them started out in Connex trailers, Connex boxes. They were a little bit climate controlled, but as time went on, people changed, high turnover, then they kind of got neglected. So we made an effort to go back out to rehab them a little bit, to find out what had been degraded due to time or weather or both, and started making plans to replace them. But it was a joint partnership where we said, hey, this is yours to manage and to do with what you need. Just keep us in the loop and let us know what you're using, and we can make arrangements to get those items replenished. But in the event of a large-scale emergency, you know, God forbid, something happened at John Wayne Airport, which we could all use our imagination, we could take from these disaster caches that are technically on hospital property, but really managed by the county, and we can pick those up and have those delivered to anywhere in the county. Based on the size of the emergency, the more caches that we would pull supplies from. So we aren't relying on just what the hospital has in their inventory. Does that help?
Yeah, I'm not sure what Rick was trying to ask a moment ago, but I'm wondering, kind of like with Bill's question now, if San Clemente has a need for these equipment, like our emergency operating center
Yes, sir.
needs something, do we have a formal arrangement with you where we can request that? Do we just call that number?
So normally it would go either through your emergency manager or through the sheriff's department or the normal chains that we usually rely on, and then those requests would go to the county EOC and then back down around to us. So we're not your first phone call, but there are established lines of communication that are already in place that we will get you whatever it is you need. It might take a few phone calls, but we will get those eventually. We will get that.
Is our city manager over there, are you aware of that?
City manager.
I'm sorry.
He hopes to be one.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Okay, I'll ask Adam that.
Give me your son. This is on tape, remember, Kyle, it's on tape. Okay.
So is that, just for my own edification, is that the structure, the city manager becomes the emergency manager, or am I stepping in a political landmine?
No,
He would typically be the main emergency manager, and emergency planning is under Public Works, because the sheriffs and the fire are not city employees, so they're contracted out, so all that's under Public Works. But we work obviously closely with those groups.
Very cool, very cool. And is his information on the internet or posted, or is there a way we can get a card, just so we can make sure to make a virtual handshake, if you will, or?
With the city manager?
Yes.
Yeah, I can provide that to you.
Okay, excellent.
Does that answer your question?
Introduce
Yes, that's what I
Kyle
wanted to
Kroger.
know.
He's the Public Works Director. He's in charge of disaster planning and preparedness for the city. Okay.
Anyone else?
That's good. Now, this is all funded through the county, unless you got federal funds.
So we have some federally funded resources that we're managing. Some have been given to us through the state, and then some of them we've had prior to the COVID response. But a large majority of what we currently have in stock now is grant funded or state or federally funded material. So it's there. We're taking resource requests daily. Granted, the numbers are down, but you know, we say we keep trying to get out of the business of emergency response. Then something changes, and now we're, I believe on Thursday, we're going to set up or help provide logistical support for the first monkeypox vaccination site on property to be co-located with a COVID vaccination site. So every day it changes.
So you're getting set up for the monkeypox vaccination thing then? It's like
I think
you're ahead of the government then.
this is going to be a little bit of a trial. We just kind of want to see, you know, if we get 5 people show up for a vaccination or 55 people, that'll kind of be the barometer of whether this is something we need to stand up on a regular basis or to support more robustly. But we're still trying to figure it out. Yeah, daily, you know. There's a new emergency every day, it seems like, that we're responding to, right? Does that help?
Yeah.
To get provisions, if you have a major disaster where transportation corridors are compromised,
Yes.
and you have a way to get caches and stuff down here,
Yes. So we have those caches that are strategically deployed. Most of them were on hospital property. And we would find ways or avenues. We've even got a little bit of a dialogue going where if we needed to use a helicopter to supplies into certain areas that were cut off, let's say in this case, San Clemente, then we would make provisions to get those delivered any way possible. But you will not be forgotten.
Okay, now, logistically speaking.
Yes, sir.
That helicopter, would it be a county helicopter or a private helicopter?
Well, helicopters, I believe, are in short supply in the county, so we would probably look at outside contracting. But it's been a discussion that we have considered and would make arrangements for that if necessary.
Right. Because if you have a huge catastrophe, those resources, fire and police, will be, they're all over the place.
Yeah, back in the day, we used to teach everyone 3 or 5 days in their emergency preparedness caches, and now we talk about, I don't know about you, Chief, but we always tell people it's more like 10 to 14 days because resources, first responders are going to be scarce. Even if the feds fly in resources from all over the country, they're going to make it as far as the Air Force bases or maybe our municipal airports. Getting them from there to here is going to be the challenge,
And we're talking about meds also.
We have a pharmacy on site with anything from auto injectors for 2-PAM chloride to whatever you can think of. All the current COVID meds that are in demand, they're all coming through our office, but we have access or a phone call away to get whatever it is that would be the needs of our county. These are great questions.
Interesting. Any more questions?
So as resources, when we sent this email over, this is one of the contact sheets that we put together for Mohawk, SITREP, or resource request. This is available to you guys. It's in their inbox. And then let me, Adam, if I can get you to click on one more real quick. We want to show you, we do have a training calendar. So we do have some of the grant funding that goes through and gets earmarked specifically for training. And so we want to offer this. This is free to you guys. This is your tax dollars at work. Just make sure to sign up. Eddie is actually the training coordinator. So if there's anything there that interests you, please make sure. The other part of this is, as you see, some of this is all lined up in Santa Ana. And that really just comes down to our success of people having a place for us to show up. So if you guys would like us to come down here and get us a training scheduled, we're absolutely open-minded to it. This just happens to be what we were able to accomplish. So this is also available to you guys. And again, please take advantage. It's your tax dollars at work. So.
Yeah. So we brought in Hal Kempfer for those of you who are TLO trained. I was, my former life, I was explaining to Chief Capobianco is that I was a LA County fire captain, and one of my assignments, I was a Homeland Security captain assigned to the JRIC. So the TLO program, and the person who implemented that was a former Marine, Hal Kempfer. He was an intelligence analyst, officer with them, lieutenant colonel, all over the world. But he's our instructor, and we put some world-class instruction together. He's the one who's developed the curriculum. We're just using grant funding to meet some of the conditions for training as it's required by the grants. But while we were at it, we always said there's not enough leadership in Orange County, so we added leadership, we added emergency management and ICS overview. We started getting a little more sophisticated as the audiences became a little more educated. So we started talking about weapons of mass destruction, CBRNE. We talk about hazard vulnerability assessments and the way we prepare for emergencies. So we just want to throw this out there for people. It's a way to sign up. Our target audiences were mainly healthcare coalition, but we're finding that there's a need from all areas of the county, and if there's something in there that interests you, please feel free. We take site security very seriously, as you guys do here, so we don't publish the information as where the training is at until we vet you and find out if you are who you say you are, and then we disclose it. But it's at our environmental health, our health hazmat headquarters right there near our warehouse, and they have a nice facility there that can hold anywhere up to about 100 people if there were the need, and they've been gracious hosts to have us there. So we've done one closed class, I want to say private, but that would be the wrong term, I think. Mission Hospital came to us and said, hey, we've got about 100 people that we would like to discuss emergency management and go over the roles of incident command system. So we did an ICS system there for trauma surgeons and doctors and nurses and admin staff, and they thrived on that. So we went to their facility, they provided a classroom, we provided the instruction, and we're open to do that if there were a need for it. If you guys came and said, hey, we would like a class on whatever, and if that's something that we already have in the can, we'd love to, and if not, it probably wouldn't be hard to develop a class that would meet the needs of whatever audience we were dealing with, so.
Very good. Any other questions that we haven't thought of yet?
The emergency communications class looks like a good one. I'd like to attend.
We talked about that one, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Feel free to share this with all of your attendees. The PowerPoint and all the handout information we provided. So it's there. You guys have my card. I'll leave some more here if anyone needs them, and feel free to contact us. We value your time and thank you for your hospitality. We always say, myself and my boss Kevin Chow, is that at a time of an emergency, handing out business cards at the command post is the wrong time. So, yeah, we're grateful for this opportunity, and whatever it is, you guys feel free to call us, and if we can help you directly or get you in the right direction, that's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
You can stay or you can leave. It's up to you at this point. You know?
We understand.
Because we got.
It's a long way back to Santa Ana.
Yeah.
You might, yeah.
I live in Dana. I'm in Tampa.
Oh, okay.
It's been a long week. I'm too new to have a car.
Yeah, we'll get those. I'll leave some of these here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Very, very informative. Thank you.
Thank you. Whatever questions you think of after, please feel free to reach out, email, or call directly. My cell number's on there more than I'm in the office, so feel free.
I've got mine.
IGO.
You got one?
I got mine.
I even wrote down the extra phone numbers on here, so.
Today.
Outstanding.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Eddie Morales, thank you.
Great job, Charlie.
Thank you for your service. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Let us know. Eddie Morales,
James Smith for the Sigma Day Times.
Okay, I'd like to
doing God's work.
take executive privilege at this point and see if I can move 8E up, because we've got some other guests for the
Human trafficking?
human trafficking group. I'd like to move them along so that they don't get hung up either.
Okay,
So,
Oh, yeah.
Well, as long as there's a motion and
yeah.
Are you making that motion?
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Anybody have a problem?
Anybody opposed?
Raise your hand. Okay. All right. Chuck, do you want to lead this one out?
Are we on item B, the non-negative?
This is the E, the Human Trafficking Project.
What about the
update.
public, what if we get to the public, I know we have a guest over here that wanted to talk about e-bikes.
I don't believe that he has public comments today.
No public comments today?
I don't see anybody in the room that's here for public oral communications.
Oh, you're not? Oh.
So we can reorder the agenda, but we will still get to that part of the meeting should
Okay.
somebody come in late.
Right.
I think we ought to get the chairman and vice chairman thing out of the way here.
Well, I think we just.
You usurped it though, so. I guess-
Yes, I think I did.
You did, because you're still the chairman. I
Brenda doesn't want to be here for that.
Can we clarify?
I think that's where the fun must be.
It might be.
Can we clarify? Staff is reporting that vote is 4-0 because there were no objections. Is that
Correct.
I was in
still the
favor.
case? Okay.
You could bring that slide up. So did you introduce the lady here? Rebecca's not here, I noticed. And
She is not, during the staff comments at the end, or staff report.
It's gonna be a secret till then?
Yes.
Is it,
It
it's
doesn't have to be,
You're Natalie, right?
but I'm gonna need a vote to reorder it.
What? Tanya.
Okay.
We got Tanya.
Would you like me to introduce?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
There is that for the slides, sir. Joined with me today is Natanya Wilker, and she is our new office specialist in Code Compliance Division. Rebecca Brewster was helping us out while we were short-staffed, but Rebecca works in the Building Division. She's returning her attention to that division, and we are bringing Natanya up to speed on assisting the Public Safety Committee with their staff support needs. So emails related to the agenda or just general orders of business for the committee will come from either Natanya or myself in the future. Once you have her email, and we'll send out something just as an
Good.
introduction. Anything that you want to put on next, you want to consider for the next agenda or just general information, feel free to send it to her directly.
Scary.
Tanya, I'm
Hello,
glad to have you on
welcome.
board.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate your services.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it really helps us move along here on these meetings. And in the back of the room over there, I'm going to talk a little bit about the human trafficking issue with the Public Service Committee has been working on the last few months. But we have the founder and director of I-5 Freedom Network down there, Brenda Wells. Here, and then we have a program director, Alejandra Baker, also here, who have been involved along with Rick and myself, who are a subcommittee looking into human trafficking. You go to the next slide, please. Back in, I think it was April or May, Chris Duncan, our city councilman, directed the Public Service Committee to look into the human trafficking issue here in San Clemente. Apparently there was some things that San Juan Capistrano, the city, was doing to fight human trafficking over there. And he wondered basically, is San Clemente keeping up, with what they were doing over there? They had a lot of massage parlors over there. And as a result of that, we took this problem on. We looked at the city codes of San Juan as well as San Clemente. And frankly, the code addressing massage parlors in San Clemente was quite a bit stronger than what was in San Juan Capistrano. So from that point of view, there really wasn't a major difference what to do. But when we came up with the committee, with the help of the I-5 network, their personnel over there, 3 priorities that we were going to recommend to the city council to address. And the first priority up there, number 1, was to take a look at the massage parlor and see what San Clemente can do. And basically, it was Adam's department, the code enforcement department, that more involved in that. And those are the 3 bullets below there were mainly the parts of the what we were recommending. And then priority 2, moving on from the massage parlors into the hotel motel business, because I didn't realize this, but a lot of the human trafficking, it's more than trafficking, it's just the fact that people are being abused, young people, women, men, and a lot of that goes on at hotels when there's major conventions and things like that going on in the city. Ted Cruz had a video out, I guess he released the other day too, showing some of the immigrants in Texas down there and being exploited by a lot of the coyotes or whatever you call those people over there. It was pretty moving, If there are, in fact, a lot of, I guess, people like that are involved, and they would end up in a hotel or motel with that, girls, women, and so forth. And then finally, priority 3 was, okay, now that we've got the massage parlors, the hotels, let's go down into the schools where there is a threat to a lot of our young people being drug into this kind of a situation for whatever reason. So over there, basically Adam presented these 3 priorities to the city council back in May, and amazingly enough, the city council adopted priority 1 unanimously, which very rarely happens in San Clemente, I guess. Next slide then. As a result, these were the actions. This was an article that came out of the SC
Here's the
Times.
author right here.
Yeah.
Here's Jaden.
Oh, that's Jake.
Yeah. Well, we stopped you before you started bad mouthing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You write a lot of articles on this. You know more than I do, and that's for sure. But anyway, this in the box here, this was the main thing that Adam has committed his department to do. Be the main point of handling the massage parlors, staff timing at least 2 random inspections to get out there, and then provide the training to the people to do that. In a nutshell, it's a little bit more than that. Adam had a real struggle, working that out, but he came up with a darn good solution there. So we're really pleased with that. And then Jade went on and a few other things about priority. Now we're into priority 2. So you can write another article maybe on priority 2 and 3 sometime. Next slide. Okay, this is priority 2 then. Educate, reward the hotel and motel. What we want to do is not punish the hotel and motel owners, but to incentivize them so that they get recognition from the city in some fashion if they then help to solve this problem here in the city of San Clemente. And so let's see. Yeah. So basically, I'd like the city somehow to recognize that. And that's really why we're here today, is talk about how can we go about defining priority 2, the next step. Next slide, please. Alejandra, I asked her to provide some information on bills, laws, whatever that hotels have to adhere to and respect the human trafficking. And she put together a list here of a number of, these are some of the stronger bills, new bills. I just basically put up there now because we have an attorney on the staff here. You may want to look into some of these and give us some help in understanding if these penalties really, can be applied to the city. And there were some other bills earlier on, like Assembly Bill 2466, Senate Bill 1133, that actually said that if a hotel or motel was actively involved in human trafficking, you could actually
It could be a
seize their
It could be a nuisance action if it's a magnet for those kinds of activities.
Yeah.
Is that what, I'm sorry to interrupt, are there undercover sting operations that are in effect, or is it all this incentivizing, giving them a plaque, or is there enforcement that goes on too?
There is.
Yeah, okay. And is there
Not specifically related to this program, just in general.
Yeah, prostitution and drug related at the hotels?
That is a common problem that you see across the county.
And is there an undercover sting operation involving hotels in San Clemente?
Not at the moment.
Okay, is that something that's been contemplated or done in the past?
It's been done. Yeah, it's something that does with they're not on a schedule or anything, but they do visit various locations. And
Are there identifiable hotels that are magnets for these types of offenses?
Well, there are some that have a history more than others.
Yeah.
Some that are known to be more problematic.
Any that could be targeted or would be in the future? Or is that not something that we discuss here?
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't discuss it here, but it's something that we do look at.
We'll discuss ongoing investigations. There is a few hotels that we've had reports on here in San Clemente for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We did some work with the hotel in Lake Forest, working with Sheriff's Vice Department. They did an undercover John Sting.
Yeah.
The owner of that hotel also owns a hotel in San Clemente, and he's willing to do something like that here, when the time's right. That hotel we know has been recently frequented for this activity.
And massage parlor is also the same procedure with massage parlors?
It depends. It's different because with the hotels, we're trying. The one that they did was a John Stinks. They did underground where they put up the ad, but there's all kinds of other indicators. When it comes to massage establishments, what we don't want to do is do undercover stings where they're trying to solicit, the invitation, because that's targeting the victim. The reason why what Adam is doing with this public safety is so much better is because we're targeting the business. When we try and get the undercover activity to percolate, the offer for sexual activity, then they're forced to do something with that individual who we see as a victim. We would rather redirect the efforts towards these, structural.
Right, but if we
code
establish a history of interactions with victims being victimized and folks seeking illicit services at these facilities, then you would have a sufficient amount, perhaps, of evidence to engage in some sort of nuisance action.
Yeah, that would
Shut
be,
them down.
Yeah, that would be their purview, what they know there. Yeah.
Alejandra, do you have any comments on these things, or particularly the penalty area? I mean, these don't really seem like particularly strong penalties.
I believe that the penalty relies more on the victim. It's
Yeah, it's true. So the very first one, SB 357, training for hotels, when you read the bill language, there's virtually no consequence. If you find a hotel to be in non-compliance, then you may put in a complaint with the DOJ, who may decide to do something. So the first step is getting the bill passed. The next one, that is the signage, the poster in the lobby. That is the third one down. $500 for the first violation.
The third one is assignments. The second one is
The third one down is, that one. If you are found in violation, it's $500. Subsequent violations, $1,000. Most hotels are willing to pay that because they don't want the sign.
Right.
And I don't even know who gets the dollars, and who the poster police are out there enforcing it. And as an organization, we actually find that to be an ineffective action. And then the last one, AB 1788, that's actually in suspension, or there's a word for it, I can't remember. But what it means is they're examining fiscal impact of implementing this bill, but the consequences are still fairly low for the activity.
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought up the asset seizure bills, because I thought, well, maybe, that would be.
That takes a lot. I mean, it is significant. It has happened.
Yeah.
I think something that might be more worthy of consideration, which is not a bill, but which is vicarious liability,
Yeah.
where they get the parent company or the chain.
Anyway, basically, going to the next slide, but basically, we're not here really to impose penalties on anybody. We're
No.
taking just the opposite. We want to take a positive approach here.
right.
Next slide, please. Yeah. Again, Alejandra provided this information too. I get there's about 15 hotels here in San Clemente. I never imagined there are that many hotels. I never heard of the 81 up there at the beginning either. 81 what? But anyway,
That's the name.
there's a lot of players
Hotels,
there.
motels, yes.
Yeah, if we get involved in this, and we want to get them excited about getting an award or recognized by the city for helping out with the human trafficking, there's 15 hotels that we're going to have to coordinate with. And anytime I plan a meeting that has more than one person meet, it just never works. You just can't get them all together. So that's going to take some thinking on how we can talk to all these managers and owners and whatever, and get them involved in this. So that's something I wanted to discuss in some meetings. And the hotel that you were referring to, is it on this list, Brenda?
Yeah.
Okay. So at least one of them we know we can have a chat with, I suspect. But looking that many people, I can't really see us getting all these owners and then the city council people together in one meeting and talking about these people are, realistically, they're doing business. They're kind of like competitors. So maybe it's not too wise to get them all together in a room. I don't know how to make a decision on that. It's something we need to consider. So the next slide, I think we're almost getting done here. So what do we do next? And this is why we're here. I thought maybe we'd get some more ideas from everybody here in the room, Rick and so forth, on what to do. But this is the recommendation up here from the I-5 Freedom staff, is that we somehow coordinate with the hotel managers and the owners and tell them that you're going to you will get recognized in a good way by the City of San Clemente City Council if you do something, whatever that something is. We're not sure. We need to really nail that award down. But before we do that, we need to figure out just what the reward should be and what the criteria is that you use. You want it to be fair. You don't want to bias it towards one large corporation or a small one or something. And you want it to be appropriate. Handing a hotel manager an ammo can, like they usually do for things here at the city council, probably is not appropriate. So certificate, plaque, trophy, or whatever. And then out of those 15 hotels, somehow we need to know which ones really would want to participate in this. And then, Jaden, we can use your help on this one, is get the news media out there, let them know what's going on, let the hotel owners know that they'll get some positive feedback. The 74th Assembly, now, I'm a little confused because the 73rd Assembly District is, Laura Davies.
Lori Davies.
Lori Davies, but she's running, I think, against Chris Duncan for the 74th Assembly District, so.
The Assembly District has changed.
So the new one's the 74th and the old one's the 7th. Okay, I thought maybe I made a typo or something. But anyway, so we know those two. She is on the Human Relations Committee at the State Assembly, and Chris clearly he's the one that got us started in this, so he's definitely interested in that. So I think those two individuals we could count on for some help from the City Council. And then we need to somehow work with those people, talk to them, get them up to speed on what we're doing, and then officially get some kind of a organization that makes the determination who gets the award, and then how we go about presenting it to the City Council. So next slide. Is that the end? That was the end. So just take a few minutes. Anybody who's got some ideas on. One of the things I didn't put on there, though, is that I do recommend that we have some meetings with the subcommittee, Rick, and I-5 or whoever else wants to be there, and kind of get a little more definition. But by the next meeting, I'd really like to have a good plan that we can go ahead and start to implement and get this done in not too many months.
So we did meet a couple weeks ago with the 3 hotels in San Juan, so they have a little bit easier challenge, path in front of them. But they all 3 came together willingly and worked together well on this topic. So in terms of the competition thing, I think this sort of puts them on the same page, so that would not be as much of a concern. They're willing, 2 of them are owned by Marriott, and they have very brand-specific limitations, but we also found their limitations in their understanding of the problem at the same time. So it would be important to include some sort of training, that they'd be willing to do.
What do you think? Because the City Council approved that we approve phase 1.
Priority 1,
or priority 1. And I think maybe we should add to our work plan or reword our work, because now we're under a new work plan, or we have to be under a new work plan. And we should word that work plan under the and I think human trafficking should be on our next work plan also. And we should word it in such a way as we're going to work in an effort to move priorities 2 and 3 forward. And then I think we should get together with Brenda, maybe Chris, you and I, and figure out a wording and a strategy for priority 2 that we can bring back to the committee, and if it gets approved, then we can move it to the City Council. Does that seem like the process, maybe?
I will confirm this, but my recollection is that the council essentially approved everything, but as a phased approach. And if there are aspects of priority 2 and 3 that require council approval in order to implement, that those will be brought back to council. Otherwise, they were okay with the program and moving forward with things that staff could do administratively. It was phased because I said that staff resources are a little strained right now to put all 3 priorities in motion right now.
Okay, so if we did meet at that subcommittee though and really defined what priority 2 would be, I mean, work out all the the nuts and bolts in it, and then you could take that and as staff, is that right then? Do you have?
Yes.
Okay, I think we should get together sooner or later and really work out that priority 2 to how it's going to look, what it's going to be.
Yeah, the thing is, we have 3 of the 5 City Council members that are termed out, and we're going to have 3 new people on there, so.
Well, they can approve it before November. I mean, maybe. I mean,
it's on the record, there's already council direction to move forward with that.
Right, so, I mean, if we can
We
just
don't-
package it, I think they're
Yeah.
gonna rubber stamp
Okay.
it, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Chris will push to do that, to get,
I'll give you an example. If priority 2 turned out to be basically a program where there was like a checklist that if hotels did certain things, then they got some
Certificate.
type of displayable thing in the window. If the displayable thing and the list of action items didn't require any council action, staff can just move forward with those.
okay, perfect.
If priority 2 is something bigger, like an awards show and a gift of, of $10,000 to the best and most compliant hotel,
Let's go with that one.
requires council action.
You'll get a lot of participation then.
Right. But that would require council action.
I think that the prior, I think is what we were thinking.
Yeah.
And that would be great, so if we can get that hammered down to specific wording and process, then I think it'll just
We
move.
go do it now, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Can I just back just a little bit procedurally? Is this a precedent-setting thing of a reward, or is it been done before and successfully to these establishments, these awards?
I've not seen it done successfully. I've seen many organizations try and establish their own version of like the Better Housekeeping, something like that would go in the window. I haven't seen anyone actually implement it,
Okay.
especially not with the support of the city.
Gotcha.
So I think this would be precedent setting if you decide to go forward.
Okay,
with
so
this.
we gotta do it right the first time, and we gotta make it prestigious enough so that
So
it's
Jamie would
not,
want to write about it.
so, yeah, so you just don't, you got a piece of paper, swell, now, or, have a nice plaque, suitable for framing.
You know, that Howard up in San Juan, you didn't approach him on this particular thing?
That was our meeting, was all about this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they haven't done it yet. You're a step ahead.
Well, there you go. Anything to beat Howard Howard Hart.
Okay, all right,
All right, Mr.
thank
Chair.
you,
I'm concluded, and thank you very much for all the input. Appreciate it. Yeah.
wonderful, thank you, ladies.
And you ladies, if, you're welcome to go too. I
Okay,
appreciate you being here.
we'll get back on the agenda, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
We'll be seeing you.
We need to set up a meeting for it.
All right,
Yeah.
fine. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ladies. All right, back on the regular agenda, this is 4B, which is the annual nomination and selection of Public Safety Committee Chair and Vice Chair. Annually, the first meeting of the new year, we appoint committee members and assume office in July. Let's see. So we're required to select a chair and a vice chair, and I'd like to nominate Rick as a chair for this current year. Okay.
Appreciate it. Can I make a comment about that? I'll tell you, Nick has set a pretty high bar, and I know I will never be Nick, but I've been watching him closely for the last few years. And I would like, we're the two original members, last remaining members of this committee. And I think I would like to serve at least once, only once. I can tell you that if so elected, I think, 1 year will be plenty and somebody else could move up. But that's it. I think I'd like to do it. And that's
Is
all.
that a motion?
It's a motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay.
We'll do an official roll call.
Official roll call on this one.
Committee member Hammerhand,
I vote in favor.
committee member Leffler,
Aye.
vice chair Hightower,
Aye.
and
So
final
be
chair.
it. So be it.
All right.
Acclamation. Congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you, I think, but you're not going anywhere.
Okay, so now I turn it over, the gavel to you.
Okay.
You got the agenda?
I do have the agenda, and now we come to the election of vice chair, and I would like to nominate Nick Percuda for vice chair, and I'd like to make a comment as to why. again, we're the last two remaining members. One, I'm gonna need Nick to guide me through all this. And number two, I'd like to serve with Nick as chair and vice chair as the two original members. Be the only time we get to do this, I guarantee you, because like I say, I will be stepping down from this position 1 year from now, and you guys will be doing this. So, like I say, I'd like to serve with Nick for this, together on this. Because like I say, the last two are remaining original members.
Well,
So I was going to make a motion that I continue on as the vice chair here because Nick has done a great job. He probably would like to take a little bit of rest. And with the provision that every once in a while I get to run a meeting, Rick. But, yeah. So
just so we're doing this, we had a motion.
right.
Is there a second to the original?
To my motion.
I'll second it.
That motion was for
Nick.
Nick Percuda to be
Well, we're
vice
gonna have a
chair.
discussion and then we can.
Oh,
do the
yeah,
motion,
Okay,
yeah.
so there's a second to that. Are you gonna make a motion, a substitute motion?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
And that was my substitution that, I'd be the vice chairman for the next year.
okay.
With the provision that I'm able to.
Or the current year, we're in the new year now.
In the current year, yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
All right.
Well,
So I think Nick is kind of, you're gonna be the main man here to make the decision.
Not really, no.
No, I will go ahead and second Charlie's because I think it should be put up to a vote. I think that, I mean, you make a compelling argument. I mean, I have I can't go against anything you said. I did make my argument for Nick, and so I think we certainly should vote on it.
So,
Okay,
my 2 cents in the thing, we're a small little committee, and the way it's been run in the past is, the head's there because of somebody has to run the meeting, right, and whatever. But I can serve the chair and the rest of the board as just a plain old committeeman too. I mean, so I don't have a dog in the fight, as it were. I'll support you any way that I certainly can, but we all will support.
Oh, I'm sure. It was almost, serving together is almost like a thing. I don't know. I come from a department like these guys where there's a lot of esprit de corps and a lot of, tradition. And I was putting it more like that. Not that I don't think anybody could do either one of the jobs. I'm well aware of that, and we all support each other. But that's why I made the
That's
motion.
okay, and we're in the discussion phase. So, anybody like to make a?
Yeah, put these guys on.
Not that you have a.
this never happens in your organization.
No.
I know these guys, they want shorter meetings no matter what.
Jeez, so.
It sounds like I'm being sucked into a political vortex here. I don't know either of you guys. I'm a believer in term limits, and you had a year. But then again, I think you're both qualified. And it sounds like Charlie, you wanted more than Nick, and so I don't know. That's just my amusing stream of consciousness here. I really don't care, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In the numbers, we have 4 people instead of 5.
So we need 3 votes anyway, either way, So, for the question?
Yes, for the substitute motion,
Yeah.
Well, you clarify where we're at
we would take a vote on the substitute motion for
Charlie.
to be vice chair. Committee member Hanrahan?
Aye.
Committee member Percuda?
Aye.
Vice Chair Hightower?
Aye.
And Chair Leffler.
Well, I think I'm going to have to make it aye. I mean,
Unanimous.
that would be a lousy thing to do, Steve Heblock.
Started out your first vote.
Exactly.
Okay.
If it didn't know, you would have had a flat tire out there.
Well, I know.
Just kidding.
No, I think we're fine, and I'm glad I got to make my motion anyway.
Thank
That
you.
makes,
I appreciate your support.
but you're still going to lead me through all this.
Just no title.
Yeah, exactly.
Indentured servitude, it's or the human trafficking thing. Okay,
The shadow government.
shadow government.
Okay, so now we're on to 5A, which is approval of the meeting, minutes from the meeting of June 28th.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, and we'll just raise our hands if you guys don't mind. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Can he move
Unless
to
you have
do
a
that?
point of order.
Yeah.
Technically, a member just needs to have watched or listened to the meeting in order to approve the minutes.
Okay,
And-
but was he a member at the time this was going on?
No, I was not.
See, that's
I was
the
not.
point of order.
I withdraw the.
Okay, I see what
You
you're saying.
were in the peanut gallery.
That's right. I was
Okay,
here and I
so
listened
the
to
three
it,
of us are gonna
but
vote
not
on this.
qualified.
You were here and still a member. You were here and still a member.
they were-
He wasn't a member of the committee for the last.
I was
meeting.
appointed but not sworn.
Right, exactly. So he recuses himself.
I do.
Okay, so the remaining, you approve the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Good job.
All right. So we come to oral and written communications. Adam, are there any oral or written communications?
The city has not received any written communications, and I don't see anybody in the room that has expressed any desire to share any thoughts.
Well, Mr. Smith only writes, he doesn't speak, we know that, so he couldn't be here to speak.
I have a question, Adam, on that. I get emails from whoever runs the city website, and they send me sometimes emails from residents that have certain issues that I think he thinks probably have to do with public safety, but I don't know what to do with those. Do you have any idea?
Yeah,
Is there-
you confer with the chair.
Well,
yeah, because they're usually.
It depends on what it is.
I mean,
Pretty far out.
I think we all get these. As far as comments, unless they specifically say they want them read at a meeting, then they're just an email to you. If you want to bring those to the meeting, you certainly can talk about emails that you've gotten, concerns.
Yeah, so those emails that are forwarded from the SC webmaster,
Right, yeah.
those should be related to your position on a committee related to public safety. If they're asking about just general city services and processes and potential issues, things like there's a vehicle that has been sitting on this block for 6 weeks. That's not a committee member thing. That's just either code compliance or OCSD thing. That should come to us. So you should not be receiving those kinds of requests for service. They should be asking about something on the Public Safety Committee. If that's the case, then what you do with a private, I'm going to say a private communication, meaning it wasn't intended, or the way that it was communicated was not shared openly. You can do as you wish with those, because any communication sent through official channels to city staff or elected officials or appointed officials, all of that stuff is discoverable and open for public inspection. So there's no expectation of privacy in that case. So it's up to you what you want to share.
As an example, I get a bunch of emails. People say, "Oh, they're riding on the beach trail. E-bikes on the beach trail. Everybody's going crazy. Blah 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 blah." Well, I can come under my comments, my update that I've received emails from citizens. Apparently there's still e-bikes on the beach trail. I mean,
yes. So in that case, that would be up to you. If there's an item about e-bike safety on the beach trail and you're making taking a vote on something related to that, you should, and especially if you've had back and forth communications, you should disclose ex parte communications with members of the public about an item that you're voting on. But if there's nothing that you're voting on and it's just communications, then that would be appropriate.
Thanks, yeah,
Yeah.
for the clarification. Kind of what I thought, but I wasn't wanted to make sure, doing the right thing, yeah.
Aside from privileged information or information related to legally sensitive issues that the city has a right to privacy on, generally transparency is the way to go.
But stay on the city's web
Yeah, oh, yeah.
stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do it on your own
Yeah.
email site. You get in trouble doing that. So,
Okay.
from him.
All right.
I will send emails reminding everybody.
Yeah.
Reviews and recommendations? We have nothing to review?
We do not at this meeting.
Okay, go on to new business. And we've got communications disaster preparedness update, and I know, Nick, you have quite a bit of pertinent. We had just from the meeting we had today was pretty interesting, so.
Yeah, well, what Rick's
Yes.
referring to is that I took liberty of contacting the head security executive director for security and safety for the school district, the Capistrano Valley School District. And I contacted him regarding what you guys do when you have a problem, let alone an active shooter type thing. Finding out that Rick has had personal experience with active shooters in schools, I asked Rick to join me, and we went over and talked to him. He was prepared for us, and he showed us an EOC that is spectacular, very, very well put together. This guy, his name is Mike Beekman. He is a reserve commander with the Sheriff's Department. Okay. He's been with the Sheriff's Department for at least 20, if not more years, and gone through the reserve ranks and is heavy into disaster preparedness and search and rescue and IC, SIMS, the whole shot. So he knows his business as far as responding to major disasters and how to set EOCs up and operational and having drills and all. So we were very surprised to see how well they're put together. Now, we're dealing with silos again. The school district has their own silo, and the Sheriff's Department has their own silo, and the fire department, and we got to start talking together. That's where I like to come in and start breaking that down, and everybody start talking. That's why you guys are all here talking together too. So, not to suggest that we need to invite the school district to be part of this whole thing. It's just we can meet these people before the disaster happens, and what are they prepared to do, and how they can do it. Because when schools get locked down and the press gets a hold of it and starts notifying, and it doesn't have to be the press, it's just social media. The parents are going to descend on the schools and demand their kids and stuff, and then there's protocols of how to release kids and stuff. So if you're not prepared for that, and apparently they are, it's a real mess. But working together previously to a disaster or an incident of some sort, knowing these people and how they work together and doing this stuff, it works out very well for all of us.
I'd like to, not to pass this around, you've seen it, but the way they've got the setup, they've got a room that's a common use room. They use it for other things, but it's set up like the EOC, and they've got administration, they got the signs hanging from the ceilings. They've got seats with the vests already on them and ready to go, so you can just walk into this room and it's operational. And it might be, chat with you, maybe the ergonomics would really be good. You still use the table for anybody that comes in, but everything is just set up to where EOC is activated. You walk in and everybody knows where to go. And I'd really like to see us maybe in the city lean that way.
Well, my experience, in the fire area though, is that for interdepartment or interagency emergency actions, they have MOUs, memorandums of understanding. And is that what you're saying we don't have here? Is a memorandum of understanding with the school district if there's a school shooting?
Well,
I would think there would be something like that.
What do you mean to do what?
Who is in charge, whose responsibility it is. It's like the FEMA requires memorandum, that sort of thing, from the top on down. So we should have that.
Yeah, and that's
if we don't, we definitely are.
Well, I mean, the way it's set up, they even have when fire and police respond to their EOC, they have like a place to sit and they've got their communication. Yeah, it's all figured out.
Right.
It's integrated.
Who's in charge and how?
And they've had exercises. You guys have participated with the school, and fire has with exercises. They practice this at least twice a year. And so they're doing it. I mean, it's not like the school is over here and the police and fire have no idea what they're doing. It seems to me to be pretty well integrated. Do you think you have confidence that it's working? If you don't, well.
No, I do, and I've been to drills with Beekman before. We've done active shooter drills at San Juan High School, and we've gone through it. So it's nothing new. There's no MOU that's needed. The organizational structure is in place, and remember, typically when we respond, we're going to set up an incident command post.
Right.
That EOC is going to support what Captain Benefield and I are doing at an incident command post, where we run the law and fire and rescue piece of an incident, and then it's supported with an EOC. And so remember, there's county EOCs, city EOCs, school EOCs, and we can only be at so many EOCs, and Captain Benefield and I are going to be at the command post running the incident. But the trainings, we can always do more. I will never say that we can't train more. But I'll let Tony add in what his thoughts are. But the relationships are there, but we can always continue to make them better. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he basically said it all. The inroads are there. I know Mike. I've known him for a long time. We've worked together. We do drill, as Chief Capobianco says. We drill every year on school shootings and other types of shootings. Who's in charge is dependent on the type of incident. So the school has their own protocols and their procedures, but it certainly doesn't usurp the authority of the fire. If it's a fire at a school or an active shooter, it's obviously a law enforcement emergency services kind of co-response model. So yeah, there's no MOU, but it wouldn't be necessary. Everybody has a part to play, and we know our parts.
For the Uvalde shooting, the school district really wasn't involved in what went on down there. It was
Uvalde is not California. It's a different deal.
What I get at though is the community is really concerned about this particular issue, and these gentlemen know what's going on. I just wonder how many of the community really know what's going on in this area. That okay, we don't have an MNU, but we have exercises. I know the media does show stories in newspapers about what's going on, but is there something maybe that the Public Safety Committee should do to pass that word on to the City Council so they can talk to the public about this and feel a little bit more comfortable about the situation here?
Well, from a law enforcement standpoint, I can just tell you, I'm pretty comfortable that everything is well planned out and going to be well run.
Yep.
What does
your wife feel like?
What's that?
What does your wife feel like? I know you feel good, but does your wife feel that way, or your neighbors?
Well, if I tell her, she has confidence in me. If I tell her that I think it's looking pretty good, I think she's confident. But again, I'm one of the few people around that actually responded, was the first on scene to a campus shooting where students were hit.
Yeah.
I mean, and this was in 2010, and we were pretty well prepared then, even a small department. You know, the response was good. I am more impressed with San Diego County, I'm sorry, Orange County, than I was even with our own department, even though we were very well prepared. I don't know what the problem is that we're addressing. That's the only thing. If there's a problem, let's address it for sure. And
I think what he's talking about is public relations.
Yeah.
Is an informational type thing, and that's where Neighborhood Watch gets involved in this stuff. And you know, you could run the newspapers could run a feature thing as how prepared are we for a disaster? You know, and that's all researched out and said, hey, not bad, got our act together, and you got these command centers. They're mobile or they're stationary, and they go for it.
well, public relations is always great. I mean, have we been inundated with correspondence questioning our readiness for school shootings or any emergency whatsoever?
I'm not aware, but I don't know that that would be on my radar. The one thing I'll say is that the city has a very limited oversight of the school, and by very limited, I mean virtually none. I think it may be beneficial if I do some research and let the committee know what input the city council has. My only concern would just be trying to run press on or public relations on an organization that the city doesn't actually have any say over.
The other entity, the person that's putting that article together would be researching with the school district and other agencies and saying, how do they work together? Rather than pointing fingers, they work together. And, you know, we feel comfortable in it, but how do you make the mom and dad feel comfortable? You know, because right now, there's nothing to worry about. But when it happens, then they either remember the conversation or they forget it, and it's a mess too.
And how would we get a hold of such a person to write such a story?
I can see like the committee has reasonable concerns about information related to a active shooter response on a San Clemente school campus. That's clear. Maybe the move here is that the committee makes a motion and forwards a memo essentially to the council just with that concern. Put it in their ballpark and let them decide what the next step would be.
I would say the school district probably has the vested interest in making sure the parents feel comfortable at sending their kids to school, and they should put the ball in their court and leave it up to them and step out of this. That's my view.
Well, but you also have to say that the school district actually it works with the city.
Sure, but the primary impetus, I think, should be on them, because that's where the complaints, that's where the calls, that's where the concerns, that's where the parents are.
Yeah. There's different approaches you can do on the thing. It's, you know, what is the problem you're trying to solve?
Right.
You know, it's just information out there. And it's like Neighborhood Watch, you know, the big thing is burglars or malmishes or vandalism in your particular area. Okay, everybody's excited about that. What are we going to do about it? Okay. When it goes away, nobody cares anymore, you know, and then we get back to that again. So it's an interesting problem as it comes along, but our charge with our work plans is disaster preparedness, and how do we make sure that we get all these considerations together so that we're working together, going the same direction.
Circling back to that, my thing is just the ergonomics of their building was really, really nice. And I was hoping that we might continue that to ours. I mean, just saying, I saw a lot of good things there. And
Well, as Beekman pointed out, it's an EOC that can be used as a multipurpose room rather than a multipurpose room that can be used as an EOC.
Exactly.
So it's set up to be.
And maybe we could do that, make it an EOC that's also usable as a multi-purpose as opposed to a room that we've got stuff in a closet somewhere.
Stuff in the closet. I've seen that one too, yeah. So anyway, one of the things I wanted to bring up on this particular agenda item here is the city council approved a year contract with Jacob Green and Associates. Apparently their 6-month program, the test program, where they analyzed what the city had and did a gap analysis of what does the city have, what is optimal, and what's the gap in between, and write that all down. Provided that report. Kyle, I was going to ask him about that, but he got out. So anyway, apparently the recommendation was that Jacob Green's doing a great job, and let's go with it for another year. Got a year contract, right? And if I could hit the hyperlink on this, I could bring it up.
Have that document.
So
There's another printout of that document. It's 23 pages, and it was available online, so we didn't print out.
Oh, this is separate page.
yeah, that's the one contract type thing.
$143,000.
Yeah.
There's another version here for public inspection, if anybody would like to see it, but it's the agenda item that was on the consent calendar of the last.
Well, I see it says yes for 143. I'm sure it's wonderful.
So what do you want us to do with it, Nick?
That's just for reference, that they approved it for another year, and that's the amount that they approved it for.
Just reporting on actions that that this committee has kind of nudged the city toward getting a disaster planner involved, because we had a lack of one for a couple of years during COVID. It was uncomfortable for me to know that the city was just kind of sitting there waiting for a disaster, and what do I do? So,
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you from what I've seen, that's going on here, yeah.
Also,
We need that, yeah.
I'd like to see Nick especially, but maybe get more involved communications about what is really happening at that EOS. We haven't been down there in a while, but what the progress is and kind of what the feeling is of, like I say, the ergonomics and all that, because Nick is he plays it off, but he's an expert at this, that I got a feeling he knows practically what should be done here. And I'm sure Jacob Green is really good, and Nick said they've set up a lot of programs, but Nick's had a lot of hands-on experience with it, and I'd be happy to tag along with him, but I'd like to see us get down there and take a look at the thing and really see what's going on.
Sure.
So,
Can you take a note about working with the Public Works Director and staff on maybe coordinating some 2x2 tours of the EOC?
and then you guys should go down there too.
That's the 2x2.
Yeah, the 2x2. We're the subcommittee, but
So we can't.
because then you can come
have to be
back with your
separate.
concerns.
Yeah.
See, before we're done with that, I'd like to move on, address the idea of a motion to the city council about what we should do about these school shooting sorts of things.
And
Yeah.
Vice Chair, if you don't mind, just
Not
a
at all.
couple other ideas that popped up. Has there been any thought about having a presentation by somebody in the school district to talk about?
He said he'd be willing to do it. I just don't know what it would be. I mean, they're prepared. I mean,
Yeah,
what would they?
you'd almost have to,
I bring that up only because it seems like there's a question. It seems like there's a lack of information about the preparedness. And if that's the case,
Well, I think the school district is putting out a lot of information to their people, it seems like, to their constituents.
Well, or at least their staffs as they run down. As far as the mommy and daddy type thing, I'm not sure.
They've got 300 people over there working. It's pretty amazing.
The thing is, though, the city commissioners and staff, they've never probably been in an EOC when there's been an emergency. They haven't been trained by FEMA on what to do, what the order is, how you deal with it. I think they would definitely benefit from a presentation. It'd be nice to bring some of the key people in and see a briefing about an EOC and what happens and how important communication is, among other things. You guys know it.
I mean, the president. I mean, here at the Public Safety Committee.
It'd be a good start. Yeah, and invite some of the city council people to come in for that briefing. Yeah, we could Zoom them if they can't get here physically.
Or we could have a special meeting at the EOC.
Well, that would be even better, but
Then
they're busy and it's hard to get them out.
Yeah, it's just seeing it and smelling it and touching it.
yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of what is the issue, but also there's a jurisdictional.
I think a presentation of our EOC would make more sense. Since we're Public Safety Committee of San Clemente, we have nothing to do with Capistrano School District. I mean,
but our
that's kind of where I'm going.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you're right. How an EOC works, but I think we do that within the city. That's our purview, not Capistrano Valley School District. Is it? I mean,
we have to have an EOC first.
Well, and we might have one. We don't know exactly.
So why don't we work with Public Works staff and we'll get the committee brought up to speed on our EOC.
Right.
That's something that we have jurisdiction to discuss. If there's questions about the school district's preparation for an active shooter situation,
this is something else,
which is where this conversation started, then I'd rather get the questions so that we can get information rather than beginning a process where it seems like we're trying to direct or.
Okay, so it seems like Charlie is the most concerned about this. Do you have a motion or somewhere you want to go with this? I mean, I'll be happy to second it.
Well, no, my motion was, I think, completely separate from the EOC. What I want to do is to feel the council out whether they thought that the city should be doing something in coordination with the school district to deal with these kind of events, the emergency events. Do they really feel they have an involvement? And if they do,
you were talking about a memo or something.
We're talking about the EOC meeting here right now, but not what I was talking about.
Okay,
so the EOC here, I think we've dealt with.
Okay, we're kicking that down the road until we get more information. Let's get back to the school preparedness now. So, what do you see?
Well, the bottom line is, it seems like the city and the school. I mean, the schools are located in the city. The parents are involved with both. There should be something mutually beneficial that the city and the school district communicate about these kind of problems. Is the city council concerned enough for have us look into that?
Okay. Well, it's not on our work plan, and so is this an emergency? Because that's the only. Isn't that the only?
Yes.
If it's an emergency, we can certainly address this. Is this? If you feel it's an emergency, then.
Well, we have to do new work plans for the.
If the committee deems something as urgent, urgent necessity or an emergency, then that's really where the memo comes into play.
Right.
Staff will put something together for the next council meeting. Council will see it, and they can determine what they want to do.
So that's where we're at right now.
As far as I'm concerned, it's an emergency, Rick.
Okay. Well, then I'm for you. So.
And then I would just say that the motion would be to put together a communication to the council of an urgent nature, alerting them to the committee's concern about a particular issue, not feeling the council out.
Right.
The council will direct as necessary. The other thing I will say is that if the question is what is the city and the school district's coordination, I would have to think that we have like 2 people in the room that are aware of that, only because they provide services to the city,
Right.
and they also provide services to the school district. Our fire chief and our police captain are probably able to answer that question.
Right.
And I think there's a lack of information to, for lack of a better term, non-current parents of students, right? Like, there's a wide community of people that don't want to have an active shooter situation on a school,
Right.
but there aren't actually that many people in the community. It's not everybody who has a child that attends a school here. And the school district is really only beholden to their customers in terms of that kind of communication.
However, everybody is going to want to know about an active shooter on the campus, no matter if it's a parent or anybody else. I mean, it's going to be.
I do not disagree.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying it seems like it's just a lack of information. If there are questions from people who don't have kids on campus,
Right.
then I just have to think that the school district is probably not going after you guys. But if you have questions about coordination, I would. Am I wrong here? You guys would be able to talk about.
Here's what I'm trying to figure out. Is the question or the concern the school's preparation to prevent active shooters, the school's actions to mitigate an active shooter?
Respond.
Is it the school's ability to handle the recovery piece, and that's the activation of their EOC? Is your question the fire department and EMS response? Do we have a countywide plan in place to respond to that, or is it a question on law enforcement's ability to respond to an active shooter? Because I can't speak for Tony, but I can tell you we have a countywide response plan. All fire departments have agreed to it. It's a written response plan I'll happily share with you to respond to an active shooter at a school, at a place of business, at a beach, at a grocery store, wherever it is. We have a plan in place that we train and practice to. We train and practice with the sheriff. So I guess my question on the clarification that my help Adam's talking to is the concern the school's response to it, fire and EMS, law enforcement, because although we are all parallel and we work in combination to a successful, hopefully, prevention and mitigation, or what is the question at hand, and maybe Tony and I can speak to our response to it, but when it comes to law enforcement, fire, and police, we have a parallel response, but I'm not going to rely on school administration on how to get people out of a building and to definitive care. That's my responsibility and my job. The county, the school's EOC will be a great resource, but we're not going to go and staff their EOC when we have people down, whether it's a school or somewhere else in the city. So my question is, what is the concern? And maybe Tony and I can provide some information on our piece of it, and if you have concern with what the school has done to mitigate or prevent, or if something does happen, how they're going to respond to it, then that would be a school decision.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. And, basically, from my point of view, I think you guys have it in hand, and you're set up. I'm very confident in what you can do. But it's analogous to the human trafficking problem. The city wants to do something about human trafficking. And the question is, what can the city do? And, well, we're going to incentivize hotels to help keep human trafficking out of here. So what I'm looking at is you guys got your side of the street taken care of. What is the city doing? Does the city have anything they can do to help you other than perhaps fund you and contract you? Or have we overlooked something? Should the city council be doing something else? Should they be, whatever it is, if it's communication, you guys need more help, maybe they should be talking to you more about these kinds of things. I'm looking at it from the government side, the city council side, not your reaction, because you guys have great plans and everything. But so as a citizen, I want to know my city council is going a little extra and looking into what they could be doing to help the whole situation, which includes, supporting you and helping you. So
I
is
think
that a little
my-
bit different? It's nothing about what you're doing. It's
No,
just
a
narrowing
little
the
bit.
city government.
A little bit to that, and we say, this is the way I look at it, with my opinion. What is the city doing? Their contract with us
Right.
as a large fire agency and a large
Right.
law enforcement agency,
Right.
that is what the city's doing for a response to an active shooter, any type of fire. So when I look at the response plan I have it in this city because that's what the city has contracted and the city has done. Now, if we're going to separate that and talk about some mitigation and planning and what the school districts have done, and I know that there's something that one of the council members up in Mission Viejo started, I want to say it's OC Safe Schools or Safe Schools OC, that the city has gotten involved in and to a certain extent, but that's more of the preparation and mitigation to it. But I look at all the preparation, all the training that Orange County Fire does. That is what the city is, and they're doing a big job through us. That's my responsibility because of the contract I have with the city. So I feel the city is doing a lot, and they've brought us in with a lot of resources and depth of resources. So that's kind of how I look at it. But if there's something more that we can do to prepare or do to show you how we're prepared, I'd happily do it.
Ditto.
Well, I almost feel like there's this question as to the school's capabilities or the school's information dissemination to the parents and the families. And I don't know what kind of influence the city can have over that. The schools have all those in place. I can tell you I have a 17-year-old daughter myself, and we routinely get multiple emails from the school advising us of the plan and how they take our child safety of the utmost importance. I can only imagine that Canada is doing the same thing with their students. To your point, that word may not get out past the family members of students. And there may be a general curiosity out there, but I think the school is serving their audience, right? They have an interest in keeping the school safe so that people will want to have their children attend. And I would be willing to bet that they're doing a good job of pushing that information out to their audience.
Well, point of order here. I mean, we got to figure this out. It's not on our work plan. Schools respond, it's just not on our work plan. And so if you think it's something of urgent nature, I will back any one of the four here. If you feel it's important, I will back it and say send it on to the city council, period. So if you think it is and you want to send a memo, verbalize it here and let's get it figured out and done and sent off. I just don't see.
I think we need to have a specific question in mind before we
Exactly.
send anything off.
Well, and that's what I'm asking
Trying
for.
to-
I don't
this
have
is
a
solution
question.
in search of a problem.
Well, it's
with
what we don't
respect
know,
for
we
it.
don't know, is what I'm getting at here, And again, it's not the school, it's not our emergency services, it's the city council. Is there anything they can do to help? this
Again, I
out?
think Rob put it really eloquently. Yes, they do. We
They fund-
signed a contract and we have confidence that it's going to be handled. We pay our taxes to the schools. I was pretty impressed with the way the school seemed to be organized on this. I don't have any questions. So if somebody has a specific question, raise it and we'll deal with it. If not, then let's move on.
But just throwing money at a problem doesn't necessarily mean
Okay,
you
we're-
solve the problem.
We're moving on. Okay, got the communication. Okay, the homeless and best management practices update here. The homeless, our code enforcement cleared the beach trail recently. A bunch of people camping on there, and I think the Orange County Sheriff stood by, made sure it was peaceful when we moved the people off for some trail maintenance. They probably moved down onto the beach. If you noticed, did that happen a week ago or so? Was that?
There's quite a few.
Yeah, okay, so as we know, it's not a solution, it's a management, and, I think we're trying to manage that part of it. Homeless outreach person, are we started the interviews yet for that, or at least put out the advertisement that we have?
The recruitment period is open. We have not, there's been no interviews.
Have we scheduled a timeline on this?
No, it's still, I believe that it's still open. The application period is still open. And I can forward it, since it's posted on the city's website, I can just forward the posting to the committee, and that will give the information about when it
Okay.
will close.
That's all I have on, you have anything else on homeless that needs to be brought up here?
Not at this time.
Okay. Legislation. Okay, because of the interesting city council meeting we had last week, it ran very, very long, and we were supposed to get the second reading of our catalytic converter ordinance read, and it did not. It got kicked forward to August 19th. Otherwise they'd still be there.
I believe that's the first reading.
You're right. I'm sorry, the first reading, because it got kicked forward from that too. Also, we're still waiting, and I don't think it's been agendized yet, the bicycle repair ordinance. I don't think they've had their
That was on the consent calendar.
Okay.
As a second reading.
Right.
And that was approved with the
Oh,
consent
it was
calendar.
approved. Okay.
So that becomes, bicycle repair ordinance becomes effective, it's gonna be 30 days after the date it was adopted, and I believe it's about August 19th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And then the interesting legislation was the Supreme Court decision on the Second Amendment, and there was some little confusion about open carry as opposed to CCW. This is more effectively CCW. The open carry thing was legislated years ago. So this is the CCW, and the one nice thing is my understanding is that you guys with your background checks, part of it wasn't cause like, gee, I live in a bad neighborhood. That's already kind of been phased out as far as you're part of the process. So I don't think that that decision is going to have any effect on OC and you handing out CCW. Are they?
I would agree. No.
Yeah, so I think luckily there's no change here. So, okay, so that's all.
I've seen some of the things that Governor Newsom has on his desk though, and it's basically keeping people that with CCWs away from hospitals.
Yeah, so many
schools,
people. Absolutely.
Public parks, and basically you can only have it inside your house.
Well, not exactly.
They're starting to,
That was
these
part of
things
the
get kind
that
of
was
ridiculous.
part of the Supreme Court decision, though. That sensitive areas, and so
But
a
they
determination.
weren't defined. and
No,
they
a
left that to the
determination of
states.
what is a sensitive area is where the litigation is going to be in the future.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of litigation.
Oh,
Maybe.
we'll see. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll deal with it as it comes up. Okay, Neighborhood Watch Program. What I'm going to need to do, and I don't know how far we're going to get on this, but we need to reorganize or add to our subcommittees. And it's unfortunate that Amy Tollickson is not going to be allowed to, her boss decided she wouldn't be able to be on this committee, which is going to really hurt because she had a lot of energy. So anyway, I'm going to need somebody else to work with me on the homeless subcommittee, and when I get that person, whoever it is, Bill, I think that we need to make that appointment about the website, Adam. We need to get that going.
You're talking about needing somebody for the Neighborhood Watch.
Neighborhood Watch subcommittee, yeah, because I've lost Joe.
So, I think we have a couple options there. I would like to have 2 committee members still involved, but when the code compliance manager position is filled, and we've got a couple other vacancies that we're going to be filling in code compliance as well, there will be some staff resources available for assistance in the code compliance division.
Okay.
And as we've talked about it, the Neighborhood Watch program has a lot of overlap or possible dovetailing into some other city programs like CERT. I think the RACES we were talking about, code compliance has a geographic assignment area that would help facilitate all of this. And so we'll have some staff that will be able to devote a few hours a week to assist with the program. And that could be the development of the program, building it, or just the ongoing maintenance.
Well, it's the website mainly, is the content into the website. That's what we've been really waiting to iron out. And I think you talked about setting up a meeting, being able to do that, but we just put on hold because we knew that Joe was going to be gone. So is that something that can still happen? At least getting.
Yes, that's something that we can get going. What I would like to do though is have an understanding of what you want to actually change on the website. In the future, Natanya is going to be the one that has
Okay.
access to the webpage, and we'll be able to make changes to that. So we'll have the resources available. In the meantime, we can set up a meeting with a subcommittee
Right.
to actually address the particular issues and
Okay.
make sure that we're prepared for the changes that you want to see in the future.
Okay, and at what time are we going to discuss I didn't see it on the agenda as far as the work plan reorganization or adding or subtracting or whatever.
It's item G.
Oh, because development, okay, that's where you have the personnel also. Okay. Human trafficking, we already had a great update on that, and Charlie, we need to get together and get that ball rolling, because it sounds like we can just get a wording on it, Adam can push it through, and or Duncan can help push it through. So figure out when you want to do that, like I say, sooner than later. Traffic and e-bike. Okay, we've had a major injury accident just this week. Guy in his 50s, apparently, more lost control of his e-bike and had a major crash, wasn't wearing a helmet, and I think he was severely injured. I don't know if you have any update on that, but the guy was definitely
Yeah, I don't have an update, but he was taken and there was
transported.
significant concern about his prognosis at the time, and I don't know, I heard the next day that he was still alive, so I
Okay.
haven't heard an update since
He was
then.
on life support, so I mean, we'll see what happens.
Was that on a path or was it on?
No, it was on the street. Yep, yeah, just apparently.
Interesting, it was 50 years old and not 13 years old or 7 like the majority of
But
e-bikes.
they're coordinated and know how to ride. You put a 55-year-old has no idea. He's on that thing, hits that throttle, and all of a sudden he's going 28 miles an hour. It was.
It was his first time ride, it is dangerous, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, and I believe due to this, the city council, I believe, is sending us some e-bike info. They want us to take a look at riding on the sidewalk and maybe possible city code that we could do to control them. And I know I was talking to you in the back of the room when Eric's son said, well, Rick's not listening, so he's not going to know what's coming. So because I was talking to you. You should have been listening. But anyway, I think they're sending us something about that. Have they come down with it?
I'm more than happy to review the meeting, but I wouldn't wait for anything from the council.
Okay.
Because this is a work
It's
plan.
part of our work plan anyway.
Yeah, and it's quite broad. E-bikes and traffic safety
Right.
project. It doesn't talk about specific beach trail. It's general.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there's some things we can, and I don't have any, because you weren't on the e-bike thing with me, were you, or were you? That was.
You were on your own.
I was on my own. Okay, all right. Well, if I could get somebody who wanted to help me out with that also, we could start working on some. You want to do that? Okay, awesome. Keep that in mind because we'll get this penciled in later. So.
Well, while you're on the topic of e-bikes, there's a lot of stuff going on the internet about the e-bikes down there on the beach trail
There
and
are.
the pier. I don't know if you're going to get into it, but there's photographs of people riding e-bikes on the pier, and usually some kind of sarcastic comment about, oh, gee,
No enforcement.
yeah, no enforcement, and what's going on here? Why?
Well, there's
Why
always
can't
going to
we-
be e-bikes on the beach trail. I mean, you just can't stop at all unless you post
Well,
people
it
24
seems
hours.
like we ought to be able to do something to put
Well,
teeth into it.
we'll have Captain Benfield speak to this, but also I will say that because we talked about the no section, our municipal code section wasn't on the signs. Well, it wasn't on the first ones they put up, but they put up additional signs that do have our city municipal code on there. So citing shouldn't be a problem. Also, I went to Lori Davies had a meet and greet last Tuesday, and she talked about e-bikes and how they're under pressure, and what she's trying to push through is more education. Which, I mean, if Sacramento wants to get together and put together some vehicle code something on there, remember, you guys aren't old enough to remember, but we had mopeds out here.
Yeah.
This was in like the late 70s, and there were these things that you pedaled. You had to pedal to get them going. But once they got going, this half horsepower motor got you up to about 8 miles an hour, and you puddled along. It was college kids and whatever, but you had to have a learner's permit to ride one of those. You had to be 15 and a half and have a learner's permit to ride a moped. But now we've got throttle-driven 28-mile-an-hour motorcycles, and you'd be 7 years old. There we go. So I think Sacramento's got to do something. But when I get a subcommittee, we'll look at possibilities of things maybe we can do.
We had go-karts before those things, you remember the go-karts?
Well, those were all illegal. You couldn't drive those no matter what. You're 100% a criminal when you rode those. But anyway, so subcommittee, there's some thoughts about maybe making it illegal on Del Mar not to ride on or certain areas of the city. There's probably some things we can do. And can you speak to the enforcement side of it?
Yeah, so you're right. The signage wasn't up until recently, and that was kind of the preclusion of issuing citations. The individual who gets a cite has a very legitimate defense. It's not posted anywhere. How am I supposed to know I can't ride the bike? Especially if they're not from San Clemente. Now they are posted, and so Chief Malott and I had gotten together and planned a couple of enforcement activity. I think we went over this maybe at the last meeting, but a couple of enforcement, like targeted suppression activities, and the first one turned into education because the signs weren't up. Now the signs are up. We'll have to schedule the second one and see what we can do. To your point, yeah, there will always be somebody on an e-bike on the trail. It's something we can't stop. I can't post deputies all along the trail every day, all day. But hopefully to satisfy the community's concern and kind of desire, hopefully we can put together some targeted enforcement dates throughout the year and kind of ramp it up, and see if we can't help spread the word.
I think you and I talked about this before. If we could get 12 citations have been written or something, we can get that out on a couple of the social media websites, the ones that people are complaining about.
Sure.
How about a DUI checkpoint, on Sunday morning or something?
Well, I think that's kind of what they're planning on doing, is having people at both ends or something, maybe. I mean, is that kind of your strategy or whatever? Or you got people in ghillie suits along there?
For the enforcement?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know how many people really know. How many out-of-towners and how many people that don't pay attention to the city press releases or the sheriff's department social media pages that still don't know, and certainly don't read the signs when they're down enjoying the beach. I don't think people do that. Any of the signs, really. But so
I agree. I run down there every morning. There's a sign that there's two of them that says "walk bikes" on that
on the
plank
bridge.
area. It's like 8 foot by 4 foot each of them, and there's constantly people just ripping across there on their bikes.
Yeah,
I tell them, and they get the stink eye from pedestrians, but that
Maybe if we ever get park rangers up and running, more of them, they could probably go down there and do some.
What about that ocean safety too? Are you involved in that possibly?
They've written more tickets than anybody. They're the guys.
So we got ocean safety, we got the sheriffs, we got park rangers. I mean,
Code enforcement.
You got the RSVP folks, plus their
Don't get them involved.
They're out there. They're saying, please.
Oh my God!
yeah, I do it when I'm down here. My wife says,
yeah, it's a concerted effort, I think, from everybody, but all of our details have primary responsibilities.
Right,
And so that's more of like, hey, if you're down there, generally what we see is deputies are down there handling a problem.
Yeah.
And someone will go on an e-bike, and then the pedestrians or the bystanders will be like, hey, that guy's on an e-bike, and the deputy's like, I'm trying to arrest somebody here. Like,
Spike strips.
Right, yeah.
Just throw them out.
So it's a problem, but we're working towards
It's kind of like the homeless. We can't solve it, but we're trying to manage it the best we can.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and a lot of it's optics. So if we could get some info on, hey, so many citations were written or whatever, we'll get that out, and so people can't just say nobody's doing it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's all I have on the e-bike update. Again, that says we get into the subcommittee part of it. Okay, now we're into the development of the work plan.
just one question. Jaden is here from the SC Times, and I was talking to him a little bit earlier about e-bikes and anything. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but if he had any questions or comments, you've kind of heard the sheriff talk about what we're doing. He talked city council. The problem, the perception. Is there anything that you can add to help us deal with this e-bike issue?
I'm not sure if I can. How appropriate this is.
I'm not sure if he's here as a city employee or but
No,
it
he
seems like
works for a private organization.
Okay.
We'll take this under oral comments, and I'd like to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I don't see any issues here. if there are specific questions, the city would typically request that those go through the city manager's office so that we can have a unified kind of response. But as far as any questions that come up now, well, people in the room.
Okay. Well, the whole reason that I was here is because at the last city council meeting, I remember hearing Mayor James kind of directing the Public Safety Committee to draft or conceptualize legislation regarding e-bikes and I believe golf carts was another.
They did mention golf carts.
Of his concern about how they were related to like the 1 mile limit around, but that still meant like they can get around to a lot of places pretty easily. So that's what I was.
I mean, definitely. You can have a golf cart anywhere 1 mile radius from a golf course, basically. But what City Council was talking about is Del Mar doesn't fall within that 1 mile of any golf course. And there's kids, 15-year-old kids, that are driving, golf carts everywhere, and they want us to look at, is there possibly something that we could do as far as a city ordinance? And as we talked about, we are going to work on that. We need to get our subcommittee formed so we can sit and figure out some strategies. And then when we come back by the next meeting, we'll probably have some ideas we can throw around. So it's a work in progress, and this is just getting a structure of how we can attack this problem, which is basically looks like it's going to be Bill and I are going to be that subcommittee, and we're going to come up with some things, and next meeting we'll have some strategies, hopefully.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Absolutely. Okay, so now back to the work plan here. So we have the work plan that's in place right now. Does anybody have any? I think we need to keep the things that we have on the work plan now. Is there anything anybody thinks that we've accomplished and kick off of there? Because I think from what I see, everything's a.
Yeah.
We haven't done much with the statistical review, but that's because we kind of do that when we look at the sheriffs and the fire department's response times and all that. We look at it, but it's
they
not
submit the reviews that they have.
Yeah, so
we've gone over that. I think we kind of beat that horse.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think we ought to leave it on there because it's something we as a review.
Yeah.
But it's,
So that one, over COVID, some of our responsiveness of various departments it just wasn't aligned very well. This is an item that I want to have when the new code compliance manager comes on, have them look at providing this in a better, more structured fashion. I would remind the committee that the only thing that is actually required, the only specific action that is required for this committee is to review performance measures and make recommendations to improve the service of emergency or law enforcement and related services. So that's codified. That really should stay on there, just to memorialize what's already in the code. But
So that would to do that, we would be asking the public safety services for monthly reports, basically.
We all do quarterly reports, anyways.
Okay.
And monthly is going to be difficult because it's going to be it's going to be additional work, and we have to go to council and request that we all do it. But also 5 every month to review is
quarterly's fine.
Okay.
Right? I mean, we have a problem quarterly.
Yeah, and that way we can, in the future, schedule them the way that we did it earlier this year, which was basically have two divisions or agencies present each month. Right. And so every quarter it comes up, but
all work out.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the sheriff and the Orange County?
Fire, sheriff, and marine safety.
Those are the agencies.
Fire, yeah.
Okay.
But we also have
Sheriff,
the
fire,
ambulance we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
The CARE one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's it's got the COVID thing, you know.
And code compliance was the one that seemed to be needed more organization too, when I was looking at it. In the
Yeah, we were
past.
doing, what were we doing, like ambulance and fire together, and police and marine together, and then the code compliance
And
and
park rangers.
park rangers together.
Yes.
Well, the ambulance we separated out, like, they're different than the fire.
Yeah, but I mean, we did it at the same time.
Yeah, and the
Same
ambulance
meeting.
is unique
Yeah.
because they're contractually obligated to provide particular services. So a recommendation to improve their services would require a renegotiation of the contract. But for informational purposes, it makes sense.
Right, but to see the city, since we're advisory to city council, if it's a glaring problem, that would be the
Absolutely.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But without the data, we're just saying, well, I guess it works,
Yeah.
you know, unless one of you decide, hey, we got a problem out here, you know, so.
Well, I was kind of a committee of one that was going through, reviewing all those at the time, so, yeah. I'll continue to do that.
Yeah, and
That's the whole,
all of them.
everybody will be specific and
Yeah.
look at it too, but
So all of the annual performance statistics
Yeah.
And this is.
were all published in the budget,
Okay.
which was adopted last month. So OCSD, OCFA, emergency safety, park rangers, code compliance, all of our
Nice.
performance measures as they are currently written, which I think was one of the issues, because the park rangers were shoved into code performance measures as a kind of a stopgap measure, since they didn't have any performance measures before they were under my charge. All of them are reported for the last year, and the performance measures should be in there the way that, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe that they were teased out this year. They might not be. If they're not for code and the Rangers, then they would be for next year.
yeah, they were all organized the same way, the different categories and so forth. So, yeah, I remember that, but yeah.
Okay.
So that stays in, I guess.
Yeah, everything stays, is there something that, a work plan item that anybody thinks should be added?
I didn't do my homework on this, Rick. I guess I thought we'd have at least a month to work on that by the next meeting, but
You do.
You
I
do.
put this on here because I wanted to make sure that it was in September
yeah, like,
and it being due in October, and then.
Okay, so we want to put off talking about new work plan items till next meeting?
No, no decisions need to be made right now about what those items are. There's enough time that the committee could talk about it right now, go, spend the next month formulating their ideas about some of the projects, and then show up at the next meeting with some concrete ideas.
Okay, could I put that on the burner for a second, and maybe we go over the current work plan subcommittees and maybe pencil these in right now?
I don't see why not. The
Okay.
current work plan remains in effect
Right.
until the council approves it.
I'm talking about our subcommittee, so we can start
Right.
working on
We're
that.
assigned.
Yeah.
So, okay, let communication disaster preparedness, you said it was you and,
Charlie was,
but I think it was me and you, wasn't it?
well, because of the communications, Charlie, the races.
I thought that, isn't there a separate thing on that? I thought that was part of the technology,
Well,
could be.
could be,
certainly, he was on it.
Right.
Too.
right, I thought that's why we were talking about the races and all that was.
No. that was
It's
in
gonna be under
communications, yeah.
Okay, so,
Disaster.
all right, so Charlie should have gone with you today, you see, you dragged me along. It
Well,
would've
if
been
you
better
want to
if
do
he
it,
was-
Rick, I mean.
Oh, no, if you're into the, because we even talked about races today and how it
Yeah,
plays
and,
a part. I'm gonna, Nick and Charlie on that.
That's good.
Fine for me.
Yeah. Okay, homelessness, would you join me on that? Sure. On that subcommittee? Great. That's gonna be Bill and I on the homeless subcommittee. Legislation and review was gonna be Amy and I. Amy has volunteered to help me out on the legislation. She has all the resources. All I've got to do is call her, and we'll coordinate, so I'll just leave my,
Parentheses around her name.
well, so I'll leave myself on that,
Okay.
and I will still be working with Amy, so I'm on the legislative review. Statistical information and review, it was Charlie and I before, so.
I can work with Charlie on stats.
You want to do the stats? Okay, well, it'd be good to have police experience on there, I think. So, okay, we're gonna go Charlie and Nick on the statistical review.
Need to interpret that stuff some way.
And Neighborhood Watch, I was asking Bill if you'd help me with that. I think you'd be a good guy. So it's gonna be myself and Bill on the Neighborhood Watch Subcommittee. The technology review, Charlie and Nick still wants to
Sure,
keep that?
that's fine.
Okay. Human trafficking, Rick and Charlie, we're gonna just stay on that?
Yeah.
Okay, we're staying on that. E-bike and traffic, it was Joe and I before, so it's gonna be Bill and I on it this time. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay, so Bill and I on the e-bike, and that fills them.
How do you like that? He's very, very good.
Well, you gave me the list already, so again, this is why you gotta.
No teleprompter, but.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so, all right, so now back to the other part of the work plan. If you want something you possibly want to bring up to ruminate over as far as something to add to the work plan?
Like I said, I need some time to think about
Yeah,
that.
okay.
We've got a full plate here anyway. I'd be
Okay.
very hesitant to add anything to it, but you never know.
Okay, so why don't we think anybody wants, are you okay?
Where's Charlie?
Poor guys, the age is killing
We have to call an ambulance? We got some.
Can you imagine
He didn't even make it through one meeting. What are we gonna do?
if he's on the bench?
Okay, one.
You guys are really doing an excellent job.
Yeah, right.
Thank you for your.
Okay, so,
So based on the timing, ideas could come next month.
okay,
With specific direction to draft items that
Right.
that the committee wants to add. And that would mean that they would come back as drafts for approval in September. And that would be plenty of time for staff to get
Okay.
to the clerk's office by the deadline.
sweet.
Does the city council, any of the members have any idea what they want us to do? Maybe a change? Should we get some feedback from them, Adam? Because,
We don't,
you know,
they direct us to do things specifically, or we propose, and I say we, I mean you propose as the Public Safety Committee, an advisory body to the council, you propose what you believe this committee should be working on, and then they will tell you
They'll kick it back or say
whether
this or
it's,
that or whatever.
it's good or not.
And they
Yes.
can add anything they want any time of the year.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
they have
just
ultimate
want to keep them
feedback.
happy, you know, and then do what they want.
Well, good
That's
luck
all
with
I
that.
mean.
You just have to count to three. That's it.
Anyway, yeah, okay, so I think that's everything we have going through the agenda except for, comments or reports from, right? Right?
Doing all
Oh, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Perfect. So now, reports of committee members and staff. So, police services.
Yeah, so since the last meeting, we continue to see an uptick in e-bike accidents. I think did you speak on it last? Somebody brought up e-bike accidents at the last meeting.
I think I mentioned it. And you said they were.
It is
on the
definitely
rise.
continuing, or they're occurring with some frequency now. And you mentioned the one real significant accident. We've had several others with minor injuries occur. But yeah, it seems like summer's in full effect. There's a lot of people out there on e-bikes that are having a hard time staying on them. Also, we're seeing kind of a rise in these e-motorcycles, these e-dirt bikes, basically.
No pedals.
Yeah, from a
That's a
distance, it
motorcycle.
looks just like an
Yeah.
e-bike, but it's actually not.
Except they go 40,
Yeah,
45.
No pedals.
They go much faster, and they're completely illegal. We've made a number of stops. We've had parents come and pick them up. We cited kids for no license. You have to have a license to drive those things. And we're getting a lot of feedback from parents and grandmothers who paid $3,000 to $4,000 for these things just to now find out that they're illegal anywhere.
Because they're telling them they're e-bikes, probably.
I don't know what the companies are telling them or if they're telling them anything, but they're essentially for private property or for like the public land, like the desert or something. If you were to go out there, they're not allowed anywhere. So we're trying to put the word out. I know our other fellow contract cities are as well. I know there's been a couple towed and impounded for 30 days for having no license while you're driving it. So we're working on those too, but we're seeing a big.
What did you call those kind of bikes? What were
Surrounds.
The name
Surround,
is
SUR.
No, those require, because they are motors-driven cycles, they require a license plate.
Yes.
Yeah, but then you'd have to, they don't have.
They're not street legal anyway. You can't
Right.
get them a license plate because they're not street legal. No lights, no.
Correct. So you
No
would have to
mirrors,
do a
no-
lot to it to be able to ride it
Oh,
on
so
the
it's
street.
It's a dirt bike,
It's
basically.
a,
like
yeah,
a dirt bike.
recreation vehicle. Yeah.
And when we had one, I don't know, 6 months ago, ran down a person on one of the trails. An e-bike rider was riding, a guy in a Saran came around and just plowed into him.
That's correct. That was not in our jurisdiction, but you're correct. I know what you're referring to, and the guy took off.
The guy took off,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
I think that guy, the victim, had his jaw broken in that one.
yeah. It was,
And then obviously we had a shooting yesterday at Maxburg Park. One subject was shot. It was some sort of contact between two groups of people, and one person was chased by a man with a gun. A couple shots were fired, and the victim was actually hit in the head, but it was a grazing wound, a hole through his hat, and a relatively minor injury to his head.
Are these age group?
Early 20s, from witness descriptions. The victim is a young man, adults, but the other subjects were described similarly aged, like maybe in the early 20s.
So he wasn't killed?
No, he was discharged from the hospital within like an hour.
is there any gang connection?
There might be. We're kind of exploring all avenues at this point.
So is the victim talking?
Is
he
not
cooperative?
No.
That's a game.
So it's a gang.
Yeah.
So we're kind of exploring all options at this point.
Well, hopefully the retaliation's in another city.
But no threat to the community, anything like that. So I think they had that crime scene locked down until about 9 o'clock last night.
See, where the school district gets concerned is Las Palmas is right there.
across.
They didn't even know at the district that there was a shooting. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so they wanted to get an update as best they could, so. Anyway,
It's funny the SROs wouldn't have filled them in or something. You know?
They do sometimes, and then the department made a number of like press releases, I think, related to it. So we try to put the word out
Yeah.
to everybody.
Well, there was a release that said stay away from that area, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. And then today, I think another one went out. So just kind of did update that I gave you all.
Good. Okay.
That's about it.
Well, flyer, flock.
Oh yeah, flock.
Flock on the 15th or 16th, I got
What the flock?
CC'd in an email that they had reached out to Kyle about permitting, and I'm not sure where it remains from there. So still in the works, but yeah.
What's flock?
It's automated license plate reader.
Oh, yeah.
They were approved.
Millie has
They were
them
approved
already.
13 months ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Millie Gale has them
We've
already.
been working on it
So
for
we've
over
been
2
working on it
years.
for 2 years.
Wasn't familiar with the.
This is the first thing we worked on in the public safety
Yes.
committee. We got that ran through over 2 years ago.
Technology, oh my gosh.
All right. But fire services.
Not a lot to report this month. We do have resources up at the Oak Fire. We've had a little bit of a break in our fire season, but with that fire taking off the way it is, good reminder of the time of year for us. The other big thing is we're being challenged quite a bit with COVID, with we have constant manning, constant staffing. So as people are out, it's about 40 to 50 a day that are off on COVID at any given time for the last 2 weeks. And that just is a bigger impact on the people that are healthy and force hires and that kind of thing. So we're working through that. Still been able to stay fully staffed, but it's been a challenge for us.
What's your vaccination percentage, do you think?
So it's hard to tell. We're above 60%, maybe 70%. The biggest thing, and if you look at all the vaccinations, not to get into that discussion, but we're not seeing people get very sick.
Right. They're just,
But when you test positive, they're off for their 5 to 10 days, depending on symptoms. It's more of a staffing issue for us right now than truly people getting really sick. So we're working through that.
How many strike teams do you have up at Yosemite?
0.
Okay.
So we have our dirt comes first. And so when we have that many people that are off with COVID, and really it's been 2 years, and you're going to see it around, really the whole state is struggling with the mutual aid system to a certain extent.
Okay.
So we have some overhead positions out. We have not sent any engine companies out because of staffing to make sure that we have our stations covered first.
Yep.
So right now we don't. Hopefully our numbers go back to normal and we can start supporting. But that's pretty far away. If something happens in a surrounding counties, an adjoining county, we'll engage with any support they need. But right now, for us to send that many units up to Northern California, it leaves us pretty thin. We don't want that.
Even our air resources have stayed down here.
Everything would stay. We've got a dozer, and then we've got some overhead and line leadership type positions up there. So we will still absolutely engage heavily with mutual aid, but it's come closer to home. And I think you've seen that across the state with a lot of agencies. Even the big ones, LA City, LA County, are keeping their resources closer rather than the days where we'd send units for a month and a half at a time to Northern California. But right now we're kind of keeping stuff closer to home so that we're ready for our stuff.
Nice. Okay. Marine safety.
Yeah, so we're in the busiest time of the year for us. Just like Rob had mentioned, I've had to deal with more COVID incidents with our workforce than the last 2 years. So we're a small niche. We have 48 lifeguards, and so it's kind of tough to run a JG program and staff the beach and appropriately. But it's a lot of overtime that's going in. A lot of people getting burned out. But I wasn't able to make it last month due to the busyness. Since summer's begun, we've rescued over 1,100 swimmers in distress. No drownings in the last 9 days. We've had 309 rescues. We finished 2 sessions of JGs. We're in almost the middle of the week of the 3rd session of week 2. So we have 1 more week and then get through Labor Day. But as we all know, we all live here. September, October are some of the nicest months. So it doesn't slow down. And I kind of take the fire saying, it's not a fire season, it's a fire year. It's not a summer season, it's a summer year, really, with our climate and the tourist attraction and whatnot. We've had 84 encampments, just as you mentioned. The increase, it's always that time of the year when you see that increase of encampments on the beach, transients in the community moving down. It's nicer down on the beach. We continue to report those to code enforcement, park rangers, and Carly. That their constraints are, nothing illegal. If there's something illegal, I wrote a citation a week and a half ago up at North Beach for smoking. But outside of that, if there's nothing that prohibits them from being there, illegal activity. So then that's where park rangers and sheriffs would take the control after midnight to 4 a.m. to do enforcement. But that is reported on a daily basis, even if nothing is seen illegal. It is reported to park rangers and Carly pretty much on a daily, if not every other day, about where those are, and they're pretty common. Let's see, for the comments about e-bikes, as Tony was mentioning, the signs finally got up. They're up, but some of the things that have been done in the background and continue to be done in the background, we have 840 kids in our junior lifeguard program. That education is about bike safety, e-bikes, that's being done at the beginning of the session, and reminders throughout the 3-week program. On our surf report from 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 4 o'clock, it's mentioned on there multiple times on that surf report. That number is 949-492-1011 if you wanted to listen to the surf report. It's updated 3 times a day, and also there's a web page that we update. That message about e-bikes is also on there, and we've put out PSAs. We work with OCSD doing a target. Unfortunately, the signs weren't up, so we weren't able to 2 citations at that moment. We did write a citation for a bike on the pier. That was, 6 months ago or 8 months ago. It's surprising to hear that bikes are on the pier. I don't know. First I've heard of that, but I can tell you the pier tower, that is like a air traffic control location, and that is an oversight to making sure that everyone else is seeing what they're supposed to be seeing. So it's not uncommon for someone to be carrying a dog or walk a dog and go right past. Their focus should not be on the bar or in the patio or on the pier. Their focus is on the water. So there's chances of people going by and not seeing that, or, it's new since March 3rd that bikes aren't permitted on the pier. Whether it's e-bikes aren't even allowed. They are, and that's a confusing message too. Like e-bikes, they're allowed to come in at the basic pier and park on the racks. So, someone comes, how many people are getting off their e-bike, coming across the tracks, going, no, they're riding, so. But I personally have seen a huge decrease of e-bike traffic on the beach. This time of the year, 1,100 rescues just in the summertime. There's probably 20,000 prevents that guards are actually going in the water. There's, I think, 9,000 ordinance enforcements, so we're maxed out, like I said, in the last 9 days, 309 rescues that these guys are.
There's only one person in zero at any given time, isn't there?
No, in the morning, we come on duty at 8 o'clock. By the time they get up there, it's 8:10, 8:15, so there's one, and by 12 o'clock, there's a second guard until about 5 or 5:30, and then it's solo. So they're there from basically open from 8 till 10 minutes before sunset, and right now we're closing at 8:30.
So you have 48 lifeguards now? Is that what you?
Yeah, we have 48.
Is that, do you think that's enough to really do the job that you want? It sounds like you're a little strained, but.
No, COVID's new, right? So
Right,
COVID's new.
Yeah.
Injuries, right? And then sometimes you have to get rid of people,
Right.
and then there's some people are out for other reasons. So we have enough for junior lifeguards. We have enough for what we call 1021s, where they call in. We have 3 to 4 of those a day. It doesn't pay to bring in more lifeguards when they don't get the experience. Like, we hired 6 this year. We brought in 7. We hired 6. So not all of them are getting those 40 hours. And so it takes a full season just for it to click in. So I can have 5 or 10 extra, but they're not any good to me until they get that experience in the field. So we have enough of lifeguards.
Well, up in LA, I hear they're having trouble getting enough people just to apply.
Well, that's a concern moving forward, because the starting wages, like you could go across the street to
Is that the problem?
Catarinas and go and serve coffee and make $20, $21 an hour, and you're sitting here as a lifeguard, putting your life at risk, and you're starting off close to $18 an hour.
Yeah.
Those are the boots in the sand, and they're required to work 5 days a week, 40 hours. So that's a struggle. That's a struggle because you're competing with State, Laguna, Newport, Huntington, Seal Beach. So hopefully there's a class comp study that's going to be done, and the part-time are going to be included in that. So hopefully that gets shaken out where it keeps us competitive, so we can still retain good people.
What about the move of your the station there to someplace else? And what's going on with that contract or whatever the plan?
Well, the architectural company received an award down in San Diego for the design. It is at the Coastal Commission. I think Amir, with the lead engineer on that project, is taking it to the Coastal Commission for their blessing. So that's where it stands right now, and then there'll be public meetings and input.
So does that mean it's not going to move there from where it is, or is it moving?
It's at the Coastal Commission.
No, I mean, where physically in San Clemente is your operation going to be located, your office?
Yeah, that's a plan for down the road. Like when they did the steel wall, they have the Coastal Commission wanted to make sure that there was a plan set in place. So in 10 years, that it's not that they don't have to move it, but have a plan in place in the event they can see a whole rise in erosion.
So it sounds like it's gonna be there for a decade at least, is that what?
That's up to the city council.
Okay.
Once it gets to that pass, so they have to go through all the measures like
Yeah.
coastal
It'll be there
advisory.
at least till
public input.
November for sure.
Yeah. I'll be long gone before that. Building
So I'd like to commend your staff. I never surfed before in my life. I bought a surfboard, I got a wetsuit, and I got 30 feet out in the water, stepped on a stingray.
Oh, no.
And your lifeguard came running. I didn't call him. I was bleeding like a stuck pig. Got right there. And,
Shuffle those feet, Bill.
of course, I was told that. See, in Lake Michigan, we didn't have stingray. And so I really appreciate it. He was a young guy, and he was very professional, elevated, ramped it, told me what to do, and still hurt like a son of a gun for the next 5 hours.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Like a week and a half ago, within like 40 minutes, I had 8 patients inside of headquarters, all between the north side of the headquarters to Linda Lane.
Yeah.
So we do have a purple flag that we put up for.
This was at Mariposa Beach.
Well, I'll tell you, that's probably one of the worst places to go because I die a lot. And they like to be where there's no one around.
Yeah.
And I'll
near the
dive
reef.
up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in the inside, and you just see
Yeah.
all over. So I would definitely avoid that area.
We'll make a note of that.
The great white sharks will eat all
We've
those.
had-
You don't have to
Oh,
worry about
nice.
it anymore.
Nothing to worry about.
We've had 67 stingray. We've treated 67 this year. But I would like to give some kudos to a lifeguard that just got a commendation on last Tuesday's council meeting. There was a 911 call that went to OC lifeguards. They have a station at Pochi. They're less than a half mile away. They called us, and we responded from headquarters a mile and a half. It was not in our jurisdiction. It was at Capitol Shore Trailers, more than halfway down. A 10-year-old who was struggling out in the rip current for over a half hour pier distance out. So Nick Shield responded from headquarters, an awesome lifeguard, responded down there. Harbor Patrol, he already had him, he was bringing him in, Surf Watch, Harbor Patrol, and then OC lifeguards showed up and state lifeguards on land. So the irony of that was, it was the uncle who was watching the kids, and mom and dad were gone, and it was a vacation home. And the young boy was going to be enrolled in our junior lifeguard program this summer. So he was just floating on his back, praying that someone was going to come out and get him. He said for about a half hour. And then we had the biggest swell of the year. That started, of course, on Ocean Festival.
Ocean Fest. Go on YouTube.
June 16th, and then it ran for about 7 days. June 16th now, June 16th through the 20th, and then the 18th it really pumped up. Got to the point where we may have to close down the pier, so I asked Public Works to bring some barricades out, so if we had to do that. But June 18th, about 8:15, a 21-year-old decided to, from a rehab, jump over the rail outside of our pier tower in the dark, in the big surf, 5 to 8 foot surf, and the guard up in the pier tower had to jump over, bring him through the pier, through the big surf, and then our lieutenant scratched him a ticket when he got on the beach. Most appropriate, but wonderful
I
done.
mean, through the pier, he had to go underneath the pier?
Yeah, because he jumped on the south side and
Oh my God.
currents ripping to the south.
Wow. Lucky he's alive.
Okay, I'm going to defer my comments till the end. So, Bill, this is committee member comments. Actually, you gave some comments already, which is
No
good.
comment.
No comments. Okay, committee member Rakuta now.
Thank you. I want to thank the committee for the experience of being the chair for 2 years.
Oh, you'll be there again. You might even be there before the year's up.
Anyway, Raj, thank you very much for the junior lifeguard program. My granddaughter, not only did she jump off the pier once, she had an opportunity for twice.
Right on.
2 different days. So, exciting rite of passage, basically. It's really good. So, thank you very much. And thank the public safety partners are doing a real good job. Yeah, no complaints here.
Vice Chair Hightower.
Rob and Tony and Rod too. I think you guys are doing a great job, and then, you know, my concern earlier in the meeting really is the city council people. Are they doing everything they can, you know, to deal with some of these issues? I know you guys are doing it, so we really appreciate that. Congratulations to you, and I hope you let me run the meeting once in a while so I can.
Well, so far, you've kind of been running it anyway, Charlie. I mean.
Oh, no, if we count words.
Oh, I got a little bit more.
Oh, please.
I wanted to thank this guy,
Adam.
Oh, yeah.
He's always there for me.
He's playing Candy Crush right now.
High scores.
And Tanya down there too.
And-
Should give her some
And
recognition.
I want to welcome Natalia.
Yeah, she's trying to find any way to bail on this now. We'll never see her again.
That's all over the
Okay, city council meeting, Rob gave the Ready, Set, Go presentation like he gave us. He gave it to the city council and the citizens were there, and there were a ton of citizens there. And it was very well received. That was, I think, the timing was perfect. We had one of the biggest city council attending meetings, and so had a great audience there. Again, Rod, that was a great presentation. I mean, Nick, what a, I say he's a kid. He's not a kid, but to me he's a kid. And just a nice guy. And he was standing in the back there and citizens were coming up to talk to him and he was just talking and doing just a great job of public relations for the lifeguards. That's awesome. And Tony, of course, did a great job because of that city council meeting, somebody could have died easily there. And there was no serious injuries, so he obviously did his job. And I just want to really, again, thank Nick. I mean, Nick was there from the beginning, and he was the perfect guy to be the chair to get us started in a great manner, and just has been, well, you guys know. I mean, he's just, the momentum has kept going. And again, I know I'm not going to be as good as Nick, but I don't have to because I'm always going to be sitting right here. So that's that.
Well, thank you.
And with that, staff.
Staff's good.
I just had an introduction today, which I had already made. The only other thing, just an update for the park rangers. We are in the process of training about 10 people right now. This is, I want to say, this will make 15 trainees this year. They're not. I will say this: at its current pay scale, the park rangers are a difficult recruitment to keep. When we start introducing them to a lot of the homeless engagement that the city has come to expect from the park rangers, other jobs are available now, and so. There are other jurisdictions that do a very similar thing that we do with our park ranger program that pay substantially more. So there is a ramp up to dealing with the homeless and their belongings, but that's going to take some time, and it's going to take finding out who is actually interested in doing that. Right now, the focus is on patrolling our parks and beaches and beach trail and locking and unlocking restrooms, checking in on instructors at the parks, ensuring that everybody that requires some type of permit, like a special event permit, has one, things of that nature. Between code compliance staff and our community outreach workers, they're the ones that are really addressing the issues related to homelessness, and I will say the North Beach parking lot is a substantial focus right now. So
How'd your hiring fair go? Did you pick up some park rangers there?
I was there, but pretty grim.
No, most of the people that were there actually were applying for park ranger positions. We've got like 20 people right now that we can do. The problem is that we can't train 20 people at a time, and we also it doesn't serve anybody's best interest to train 20 people because we only have funding for one lead park ranger that's a full-time position and like 5 part-time, like 20-hour-a-week part-time park rangers. So 10 rangers, 20 rangers, it doesn't matter. It's like you got 5 that can work 20 hours, or we can have 20 that each work 3 to 4 hours a week. And I don't want people that are spending that little amount of time.
Of course, your retention is the problem too.
And retention, we've been bitten by that one.
That's something we might want to look at. I did some numbers on just raising it $5 an hour, and it was like pocket change, really, for the city. We need to look at that.
You know what? I have no comment.
I know.
But
Well,
I hope you're more successful with pocket change than I am.
Yeah, well, I've got photos.
I don't want to see your photo.
Pocket change. Okay.
So with that, does anybody want to make a, oh, by the way, don't forget to RSVP for August the 30th, I think it is, for the,
26th, is it 30th?
I don't
have my.
actually, maybe, whatever date it is, for
I
the
got it.
sensitivity or
Sensitivity.
whatever it is. It's a rubber chicken.
It's
30th.
30th, yeah.
it is it's
You have to make a
Council
speech.
committee.
sexual harassment
How
training.
great
Sure,
we are.
It has to be done at some point in time.
It's what kind of training again?
It's the sexual harassment.
Well, I won't be talking there.
All right. Well, that doesn't change the fact that you still have to take it at some point. So
I'm
you
going.
can take it
No, I'm
there.
going.
Well, I mean, we can talk about the meal last. The next meeting is August 23rd. There is that special meeting that you're referring to, August 30th, a special joint meeting. Everybody should have received an invite from, an email from Meredith Scott in Planning asking about your attendance and whether you want a vegetarian option. We'll work on your city email and make sure that you get into that,
good.
so that you're there as well.
Yeah, they didn't say what you got if you didn't want the vegetarian option, though. So I guess it's just chicken.
It's meat, veggie, or nothing.
Yeah. It didn't
You
say
actually
anything
have 3
about that.
options.
You don't have
It's
to.
mystery meat. Okay.
All right.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Can I make a motion?
Please.
That our next regular meeting of the Public Safety Committee be held on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 at 3 p.m. in the community room of the City Hall at 910 Calle Negocio, San Clemente.
A second.
Good. All in favor?
All right.
Hey!
That was 4-0 to adjourn.
Oh, yeah.